prediction for this one, Dino? As we head towards, the players are out, we're about to head towards kick-off.
Chelsea have not done well here in recent years, and I think they find it difficult because of that counter-attacking power that West Ham have, and they'll cause them problems again, but I really fancy a draw. I just think both teams are not quite there yet, and there'll probably be a mistake or two between the pair of them.
Okay, well, as I say, the teams are out on the pitch, the bubbles are blowing, and there's so much needle between these two sides. Absolutely no love lost. Chelsea, incidentally, have beaten West Ham 30 times in 56 games in the Premier League. The only side they've beaten more in the league is Spurs. London really is explosive when it comes to those derbies, isn't it? The Hammers need a win to avoid this unwelcome first of losing their first 3 home games in a season. That would be a new record. Chelsea, on the other hand, are looking for their 3rd straight league win away for the first time since the 2017-2018 season under Antonio Conte. Which way is this one going to go? Can you even try to predict it? Is the draw the only way? Let's get straight to it then. The players are on the pitch and almost ready to go. And I'm going to hand you over to our commentary team then, the former Norwich, West Ham and England striker Dean Ashton. But first, Talksport's chief commentator Sam Matterface.
Thank you, Rashmin. It is the weekend of the harvest moon and the autumnal equinox, when day and night are equal all over the globe. And certainly in the last few years, West Ham and Chelsea have been pulled closer together. Chelsea's status has dropped like an autumn leaf over the last few years, especially if you measure them by the standards set in their 20-year dominance of London football. But even so, only once since 1996 have the Hammers eclipsed them. Yet West Ham have finished the last 4 seasons in 6th, in 7th, in 14th, in 9th, but they are yet to escape Chelsea's shadow. In order to rectify that, they have let go David Moyes and gone with a programme of renewal. A summer harvest of talent that included one of the best players in the Championship, an international striker, Manchester United's full-back, and a £40 million centre-back, all recruited under the guidance of a former Real Madrid coach. But although the season has changed, the form has not. West Ham's results have been patchy since the turn of the year. In 2024, only Everton and Wolves have picked up fewer points in the Premier League. It always feels like there's a full moon over Chelsea, a club that have been the epitome of chaos off the pitch, but who slowly have shown signs of finding balance and transition. But can they channel their energy properly today at a venue where they've won just once in 7 visits? West Ham United in claret shirts with blue sleeves, white shorts, attacking the goal away to our right-hand side in the first half. Chelsea in an off-white away kit with thick blue trim and blue socks, attacking the goal away to our left-hand side. The former West Ham striker Dean Ashton is here, and a bit like the weather, things are supposed to have changed more dramatically by now for West Ham. Why haven't they?
Yeah, good afternoon. Because it's going to take time, because the fixtures here, especially at home, have been so difficult for West Ham. Aston Villa and Manchester City have come here, and now Chelsea. Very difficult to implement a new style against those sorts of sides, but they won't give him much more time. That is what happens here at West Ham. They are passionate and they will let you know how they feel. So today is another important test for the new manager. We've got games in the Championship and the WSL that are already underway, plus games in League One and League Two, which we'll keep you updated with here on Talksport. Game day on a Saturday lunchtime. Last season, Chelsea came here in the early part of the season, were largely the better team early on, and then Enzo Fernandez missed the first half penalty. They lost their heads and the game. And West Ham took full advantage, despite going down to 10 men, actually. And they made a really good start to the season. Chelsea made up for that defeat back at the Bridge when they dished out a tonking in May. And I must admit, it is my first look in the flesh at West Ham United this season. I'm interested to see how they shape up. Julian Lopetegui even admitting that there is a lot of work to do after that patchy performance against Fulham last time out. Minute played, you're listening to Talksport. The ball is over on the right-hand side where Wesley Fofana is playing at right back today. He tosses the ball back into Tosin Adarabioyo, who gives it back to
Robert Sanchez on the edge of the 6-yard box in bright orange. He pings the ball out to the near touchline, and a first real involvement for Jadon Sancho, who comes back towards his own goal and then gives it infield to Marc Cucurella. He canters on the inside left channel and then feeds Fernandez. It's a back heel to Jadon Sancho again, and then all the way through to Levi Colwell on the stroke of the halfway line.
And a familiar sight for West Ham fans, which is the West Ham team, every single player back in their own half, looking to defend in a very good shape. That is something Lopetegui has done throughout his career. He's had such good defensive structure, but he's also liked to play with the ball out from the back. But as we see right now, it's gone into a back five with Alvarez sitting in there as well, and then just 4 ahead of it.
Here is Enzo Fernandez being fouled down in front of us. We have our first goal in the Championship. Callum Doyle scored for Norwich. They lead by a 1-0 against Watford as Kudus comes forward for West Ham down the right side. A low ball in towards the near post. It's stopped by Sanchez and then cleared away and then hooked upfield and then on to Nicholas Jackson via Enzo Fernandez. And our referee Sam Barrett, with his first chance to stamp his authority of the game, has given a free kick against Mavropanos, and it's going to be a free kick which Chelsea take quickly. Picked up by Sancho, back to Nicholas Jackson, down the left-hand side. It's played forward into a wing position. He canters into the box now, then shapes up to the goalkeeper and slips it underneath him and through the legs of the goalkeeper Areola and into the net. An early start once again for Nicholas Jackson. He scored after 99 seconds the other week. It's taken him less than 4 minutes to score today at the London Stadium. Chelsea off to a blistering start, and Nicholas Jackson is on the score sheet once again. West Ham United 0, Chelsea 1. It's a dazzling goal from Nicholas Jackson.
Pace, power and clinical finishing, that's what that was from Nicholas Jackson. Really alive to the situation, really quickly played. Free kick from Chelsea, nice and alert. It was Nicholas Jackson who just tapped it backwards and then quickly received the early free kick. Sancho with the early pass down the left-hand side. What Mavropanos is doing, I have got no idea. The guy didn't even bother to come across and think about defending. He strolled back into the penalty area towards the 6-yard line while Nicholas Jackson ran down the left. He was too quick for Alvarez all the way to the 6-yard line, and then he just picked his spot between Areola's legs to side foot it in. It's far too easy.
Got the opener against Palace, the opener against Wolves, the opener now against West Ham United. Nicholas Jackson on his 50th Chelsea appearance scores the goal that puts Enzo Maresca's team in front right from the very off. Norwich 1, Watford 0, QPR 0, Millwall 0, Sunderland 0, Middlesbrough 0. That's live right now over on Talksport 2. If you want to listen to it, download our app. You can flick between the two stations and you'll be able to hear that in all its glory. This is commentary from the London Stadium under blue skies, beautiful sunshine, and Chelsea have had a beautiful start to the game. Tosin Odorabayo gets back into a right back position and clears ahead of Emerson Palmieri, who's breaking down the left for West Ham. It goes out of play and away for a throw-in over on the far side. That's exactly what these supporters did not want.
It's just so sloppy. I think that's what will be so frustrating for the manager. Is it's just a free kick in the middle of the pitch and you're asleep to it.
It certainly has woken up the West Ham players because they've now got to try and go on the front foot. West Ham have only managed to scrape together 4 points in their first 4 games. They've looked leaky. They've faced the most shots in the league. And their only Premier League clean sheet came in their smash and grab raid at Crystal Palace, where they were clinical, and they got away with it last week in the game against Fulham. And they're under the cosh in the early stages here. They trail by 1-0, a breakaway goal. Jadon Sancho again feeding, and Nicholas Jackson gobbling up. Let's go off to the goal at Old Trafford. Natalie Pike is watching Manchester United in the WSL.
It's Manchester United 1, West Ham 0, and it's been all United in the opening 35 minutes here. It's just attack after attack from the Reds, and they finally broke the deadlock in the 28th. Not one that the West Ham defender size will want to see again. She tried to shield the ball as it was rolling out, but JC was stronger. She stole it off her, and she calmly slotted the ball into the back of the net. Manchester United 1, West Ham 0.
Key for Manchester United to get up to a good start after Chelsea won last night. Here's Jadon Sancho moving towards the edge of the penalty area, trying to weave his way into a passing position to try and feed the ball down the left channel on the edge of the box. Nicholas Jackson and Sancho not quite on the same wavelength, and it's gobbled up by Areola, and it's cleared away by West Ham United. 7 minutes gone. Talksport. Doesn't take long for frustration to creep in at West Ham, so Julian Lopetegui will want a quick fix to this situation. They need to show something here today. West Ham have lost their first 2 home games. They'll be desperate to avoid a third straight loss at the London Stadium, which they have never done before at the start of a league season.
I mean, I talked about coming in and how beautiful the setting was, and you ready as players, you should be excited to get out there, and it's Chelsea who have started much the brighter. Not just the goal, but their parts of the play. The passing has been crisp, the movement's been very, very good. Whereas West Ham has just been laboured.
Kudus takes it on after a free kick was given, and it's quickly taken. He takes a lovely cross into the box, looking for Somerville. It's just over his head, and it scoots behind and goes out for a goal kick. He got down the right hand side, cut back in on his left, delivered a curling cross towards the far post there, Mohamed Kudus, and underneath it was Crescencio Somerville. Maybe he just didn't judge Crescencio Somerville's height. He's quite a diminutive little character, and he couldn't get on the end of it coming in from that far left hand side.
But 2 things you really want to see, which is an early ball from your wide player. Kudus didn't take any time, onto that left foot, whipped it in towards the penalty spot, and you want to see your opposite winger in the box, which is what Somerville was. He was there, it just wasn't quite low enough for him.
I think what's really key watching the West Ham formation is they're almost playing with 2 number 10s in Bowen and Paquetá, rather than playing with Bowen as the out-and-out striker, and the 2 wingers high up on the left-hand side and the right-hand side.
Yeah, maybe just trying to stop that ball in towards Fernandes and Caicedo, and trying to win the ball higher up and asking them to then play out a little bit further, but they've just allowed Cole Palmer to come and get it in midfield and turn and go forwards.
And there's space for Fernandes as well in the centre circle. He just swings it out towards the near side. Sancho and Wan-Bissaka, who know each other from Carrington quite well, tussle for the ball down by the corner flag. Cucurella is backing up Sancho as the ball is cleared by the West Ham defence. Eventually goes back to Mavropanos, who clicks it clear, high up over the halfway line. Sanchez comes out and deals with it, and then just taps it to his left-hand side, and under a little bit of pressure, Levi Colwell has to try and hook it over the halfway line, and does successfully manage that, but it was good pressing from Jared Bowen at the top end of the formation. 9 minutes played. This is Talksport. We're live at the London Stadium. Manchester United's women leading by 1-0. The only other goal we've had so far has come at Norwich, where Callum Doyle has scored for the Canaries. Big game up in the northeast. Sunderland against Middlesbrough is also underway. We'll keep you updated with that throughout the course of this lunchtime. And later on today, of course, we've got the boxing fight night live from 8 o'clock tonight. Anthony Joshua against Daniel Dubois. We're bringing you the whole of that set from Liam Gallagher as well. When he released it last night, I got a little bit excited, I must admit.
Most definitely.
I thought you were going to say definitely maybe then. It would have worked much better. I thought you were all over that.
You've got to tee me up for that, Sam. You know I'm not good at those things.
Here is Jackson into Fernandes. Back infield it goes to Jackson again, the goal scorer. Sancho tight towards the near side, and then it's all the way back to Levi Colwell.
Interesting to see West Ham out of possession. Actually looks more like a back three, a proper back three out of possession. Alvarez right in between the 2 centre-backs, spread across, with then Emerson and Wan-Bissaka as wing-backs. It's not like he's starting in midfield and then dropping in there. He is fully in that centre-back role in between Kilman and Mavropanos.
Ball played out by Sanchez into the heart of midfield, where Cucurella had sort of wandered, and under a high press from West Ham United, Chelsea just struggling a little bit to get out. Sancho has dropped back, giving it to Colwell, edge of his own penalty area. There's a rash of claret and blue jerseys. If Chelsea get out here, then West Ham are in trouble, and they have. And now it's 3-on-3 inside the West Ham half, and Jackson's gone down the left-hand side. He's got 2 waiting on the edge of the box. He cuts in on his right foot, feeds the ball towards Cole Palmer, who strikes it left-footed, and it misses by an inch of the foot of the left-hand post. A brilliant move by Chelsea, getting out of a high press, moving the ball quickly through the thirds, down the left-hand side. Jackson went, centred the ball into Cole Palmer, and his left-footed shot was only narrowly wide. That could have been 2-0.
Well, they've got a big problem because Mavropanos and Alvarez in that defence are all over the place. There's no communication. They're not in a good shape. Mavropanos finds himself in the middle of the pitch, marking nobody, leaves Alvarez on his own against Jackson, who's got the pace to try and beat him, and then he just picks out a pass for Cole Palmer on the edge of the box. You're waiting for the net to bulge. When it comes across to him, he's got that left foot, it's brilliant, just wide.
There is a spontaneous applause that has broken out on the 11th minute as West Ham marked the passing of Elliot Ely, who was a mascot at the beginning of the season here and a much-loved member of the West Ham fan base who sadly passed away. Here is Kudus down the right-hand side, centering the ball into the box. It's eventually cleared by Chelsea, and then as Alvarez tries to strike it from distance, it goes well over the top of the crossbar. But West Ham have looked a little bit shaky. Their high press easily picked apart by Chelsea. Dean has already identified that Mavropanos is a little bit of a problem. He seems to be caught in two minds, really. He doesn't really know whether it's going to be Jackson or Sancho that he's going to have to worry about when Chelsea get on the attack. Wan-Bissaka has to deal with the fact that Cucurella is coming up and getting involved in the play as well. And Chelsea at the moment have got West Ham's number. That's a poor header by Mavropanos. And again, it's too easy for Jackson to pick it down in the centre circle after a long clearance upfield by Sanchez. Eventually, though, they get it back to Areola. It remains 1-0 to Chelsea.
But teams target him, whether he likes it or not. He's the weakest part of that West Ham defence, and teams have spotted it, and they're working towards drawing him out of position, using that lack of pace that he has to get him behind the West Ham defence. And it's an issue at the moment. And something that Lopetegui likes is a back three, and then to utilise the wing backs. And at the moment, it looks like they've only just started to work on it, and they're not quite sure of each other's positioning.
Here is Tosin Adarabioyo bringing the ball out from defence and then cutting back. It is interesting now because I know that we have a lot of discussions about formations or how they're going to play, what they're going to do. But the truth is, and when you speak to coaches, especially the sort of new coaches, they'll tell you, stop worrying about where it lines up on paper. It's how they play in and out of possession. At the moment, Chelsea have got possession. Madueke trying to get up to the edge of the penalty area, cuts in on his left foot, but can't quite find the pass. It's cleared away by West Ham, and they've worked it out really well to Crescencio Somerville. Over on the far side, then on to Emerson. Emerson takes it infield. He tries to get parallel with the edge of the 18-yard box. He's fouled by Fofana, who's coming back and he's probably on the wrong side of the ball there to make that challenge. And Sam Barrett, the referee, gives the free kick 5 yards outside the box.
And that's the point you've just made. He was the wrong side. So to get to the ball, he probably will have had to have gone through Emerson's shin to get there. Yes, he gets a hefty touch on the ball, but he had to go through the player to get that. It was a lovely little move from West Ham down the left-hand side. Great little flick from Somerville with the outside of his right foot in towards Emerson. And Fofana felt like he did the right thing, got the ball, but also got a bit of Emerson as well. And sometimes you tend to get those given against you.
Exeter have scored in each of their last 19 games, and they're on the score sheet again today. Exeter lead by 1-0 against Stevenage, Gary Caldwell's team. Always find a way to breach the opposition. They're in front in League One. Chelsea in front here at the picturesque setting of the London Stadium. I don't think many people have said that before, but it certainly feels like that today. It feels like a big event venue with the sunshine burning down on the surface. Paquetá has lined up this free kick, then he's going to strike it. Left-footed, low, straight into the wall. Poor delivery, really, and it's repelled by the Chelsea backline.
What was he doing? Like, he's got so much ability in that left foot of his to whip that up and over the wall or find something creative. In the end, he just thought, well, I can't be bothered, so I'll just smack it along the floor into the legs of the wall. That was a really strange decision, that, from Paquetá.
It was dropped last week, and he sort of faded at the end of last season, and we mentioned to Rashane this earlier on today when we were doing our sort of discussion about West Ham. He missed the second leg of the quarter-final of the Leverkusen game because of a booking. They sort of need the Paquetá of a year ago to emerge again, rather than the sort of shadow of the player that they've got at the moment. Here is Mavropanos under pressure from Enzo Fernandez, the Chelsea captain, on halfway, and eventually Paquetá does float the ball forward, but it's a little bit too high for Bowen, and it's an easy catch for Robert Sanchez, who was very good last week. 16 minutes gone. You're listening to West Ham 0, Chelsea 1 on Talksport with Sky Sports, and don't forget that you can stream more Sky Sports football than ever before, available with no contract on now, like Crystal Palace against Manchester United is live today. Search Now Sports.
He's very animated, Lopetegui, on the sideline. He's clearly not happy with what he's seen so far, and rightly so. He's just trying to get information onto the players well out of his technical, almost on the pitch, basically.
Well, yesterday when he was talking, he was saying that, yeah, OK, the two encounters that they've had at this stadium have been pretty tough up until this point. But also, you had to sort of put them in the past now. They're gone. It's time to move on. They've got to make up for it and put a good performance on today. They've started poorly. They've been outwitted by Chelsea, and they've got to find a way back into the game. Fofana felt that he was fouled over on the far side. He's just getting back to his feet now. Chelsea just playing around inside their own half. Caicedo's got it. Funnels it forward into Enzo Fernandez, and now dropping a little bit deeper to pick it up is Cole Palmer. With that languid style and that long-sleeve Chelsea shirt, he wanders up towards the edge of the centre circle into the long curly hair of Cucurella, who taps it to his right. And Chelsea allowed to have possession inside their own territory here. Fernandez, oh dear, Paquetá wasn't paying attention, and it's through by Caicedo to Jackson, and Jackson's through again, and he's going to strike it from the edge of the box and poke it home, and Chelsea have a 2-0 lead. It's all kicking off down the East End once more. Chelsea in front. Jackson on the double has scored twice inside the first 18 minutes of the game. They've made a rapid start, but what on earth were the West Ham midfield doing? They were played around far too easily, too much space for Moises Caicedo. He picked his pass out to send Jackson away. He raced in behind the back line and prodded home from just inside the box, and Chelsea lead by 2-0.
It's a terrific finish. Outside of the right foot from Jackson, just to whip it past Areola at that final moment. It's the hardest finish of all. He's going 1v1 against the goalkeeper. All the time to think about it. Jackson's through. He bears down on goal, but he just flicks it with the outside of his right foot early and past Areola. But I tell you what, defensively, absolutely shambolic from West Ham. They're all over the shop. Alvarez got no pace in the middle of that defence. Mavropanos, again, out of position. Kilman can't get across. He's not quick enough to get to Jackson. It's all too easy. And Jackson's loving his afternoon so far.
Absolutely he is. There's no doubt about that. And so is Enzo Maresca. 2 goals for Nicholas Jackson. And Chelsea 2-0 up here before the 20-minute mark. And Julian Lopetegui, who was brought in to give a fresh outlook to this West Ham United team, is on the verge of making unwanted history.
I mean, they will have done work, of course they will, West Ham, but that's not work. Get Alvarez in midfield, get him away from the defence. Mavropanos has now gone into the middle, as if that's going to make the difference.
Ball into the box, and it might come through to Bowen here after a ricochet of Paquetá. I mean, the whole setup was wrong. I mean, there's no pressure on the ball. Chelsea were allowed to bring it out so easily from the back. They were wandering up to halfway. They played around the West Ham midfield, and then the ball was played right through the middle. And there's no pace in that back line at all. No pace from Mavropanos, not enough from Kilman, and certainly none from Alvarez. And in that regard, then, why are they playing so high up towards the halfway line and giving Chelsea the space to run into?
Well, again, you're talking about the absolute basics of a defensive line, which is when there isn't the pressure on the ball, you drop, and especially if you haven't got the pace. And it's one thing dropping and defending deep, as West Ham have done, but it's another thing being super passive then. You've still got to be really aggressive. When that ball goes into a Chelsea midfield player, they should be under severe pressure.
Corner from the left-hand side. West Ham have 1-1. They've swirled it in towards the penalty spot, and it is cleared away by the Chelsea defence, and they go all the way back towards the halfway line and then the goalkeeper. And there's those groans, that frustration that we talked about. It doesn't take long for it to emerge here if things aren't going well. And trust me, right now, things are not going well for West Ham. A loose ball by Enzo Fernandez is retrieved by Bowen over on the far side. He skips back to halfway and then funnels it into Max Kilman. Mavropanos comes forward, and now West Ham have possession. They've got to find a way back into this game. They've got to find a way to try and just settle themselves, because we've only played 20 minutes here, and that Chelsea defence is not the most rigid. It's a team that certainly has given up a lot of chances. Tavernier hit the bar last week. Christie had a really good chance. So they should be able to fashion 1 or 2 chances, but we've played only 21 minutes, and Chelsea lead by 2-0. It's half-time in the game of the WSL. Let's go off to Old Trafford. Start of the season for Talksport's Natalie Pike.
It's Manchester United 2, West Ham 0, and United doubled their lead in the last minute of the half. Leah Golson with a beautiful right-footed shot from just outside the 18-yard box. It was all Manchester United in that first half. The opening goal coming in the 28th minute. Jay-Z stole the ball from Size as it was rolling out, and she calmly slotted it into the back of the net. She only managed the 1 goal in the WSL last season, and she nearly doubled nailed that in this half alone with a spectacular overhead kick that hit the bar. West Ham have barely managed a shot in the half and have really struggled to get into the game. It's Manchester United 2, West Ham 0.
And for West Ham in the WSL, read West Ham in the Premier League. That is the way things are going here as well. But they might get a chance here with Emerson bounding forward from the left back. Over halfway line he goes. Into Bowen. Bowen spotting Somerville. A little bit heavy with his pass, but he's retrieved it. Gets down to the byline. Tries to get inside Madueke. Madueke holds him up well. Has done the work of tracking back well here, Madueke. Somerville's worked it to Paquetá. Decent cross into the box. Flicked away by Colwell. And out for a corner on this near side. That's better.
Oh, it's so important, that header, though, from Colwell. Because Bowen tried to put him under pressure and Kudus was just hiding behind, waiting to head it in. After Paquetá just clipped that ball in, it was good from Somerville. Down the left-hand side as well. He's starting to combine with Emerson nicely.
Here is the corner on this near side to be taken by Bowen. Bowen, left-footed, in towards the near post, and he was sort of trying to float that, I think, into an area for Paquetá to attack. He's got it back again after it's cleared away. Goes back in towards Paquetá on the edge of the 6-yard box, who tried to back flick it, but it was cleared by Jackson. Back to Bowen again. He's got support for Wan-Bissaka. Into Paquetá, though. He's made a good movement down the inside right channel. Gets it back to Bowen, whose shot goes well wide. He was leaning back, didn't get enough of the curl and whip that he wanted on that left foot. He wanted to try and pull it into the top corner, but after a good interchange from the corner, where seemingly Bowen and Paquetá were keeping it to themselves and taking matters into their own hands, the ball's over the top of the crossbar.
Yeah, it was a nice, clever run from Paquetá, just down the side of the area, then just backed in towards Cucurella, held onto the ball. He's terrific at that. Waited for a little bit of movement, which Bowen gave him. And actually, I think it probably would have been better just putting his laces right through that and hoping you maybe get a deflection off a defender rather than trying to firmly side foot that, curl that into that far corner with so many bodies there.
West Ham lost down again as Chelsea come forward, and the ball breaks to the right side with first Palmer and then Madueke. Sunderland have taken the lead in the game of the Stadium of Light over on Talksport 2. Rig with the goal. Chelsea trying to win it back after Palmer was dispossessed by Guido Rodriguez. Taken on by Somerville, tackled by Caicedo. And once again, Chelsea have the ball back on the halfway line. They've had a lot of the ball so far in this game. We've played just over 24 minutes. Statistics don't lie. Chelsea have had 54% of the ball. They've had 3 attempts on goal, 2 shots on target and 2 goals so far. But I think they've probably been a little bit more dominant than that. They've dominated the game in terms of they've had control of the match so far.
They've looked like they've got the right idea of how they want to play as well. West Ham still look a little bit stuck in that sense.
Paquetá trying to do a little pirouette in the back heel.
That would have been incredible, by the way, from Paquetá.
If it had come off, he sort of backheeled it into the penalty area looking for the run of Somerville, but Cucurella just dropped in and managed to block it, and it's cleared away. 25 gone, 2-0 to Chelsea. Norwich 1, Watford 1. That's the latest from the Championship. There are 3 games kicking off at 12:30 at this moment in time, and this one the only one from the Premier League, with the new era at West Ham United certainly not getting off to the kind of start that they were expecting. They had a good window. Wan-Bissaka, Max Kilman, Guido Rodriguez, who plays well with Alvarez, Somerville, Fulkrug, trying to find the right recipe to get the best out of those. And the current talents, Kudus, Bowen and Paquetá, is a conundrum, but Julian Lopetegui is the man who's charged with doing it, and you'd expect him to have his wits about him. He's a former Spain national team coach, Real Madrid, Sevilla. He's got a good history of coaching in Spain. Did very well, actually, I think, under difficult circumstances at Wolves initially, then fell out with the hierarchy there. Has been waiting on the sidelines ever since. He's got the chance back in the Premier League. He wants to prove himself in this division, but it hasn't started particularly well. Hasn't started particularly well just as a game here today. Not for West Ham anyway. Clearance by Chelsea, interrupted by Wan-Bissaka. Here's Guido Rodriguez on the cusp of the centre circle in the sunlight at West Ham's London Stadium. Infield it goes to Wan-Bissaka and then back outside of Kudus, back into the midfield, and Rodriguez trying to just nudge it forward and clip it over the Chelsea defence. He didn't get enough loft on the ball and it's cleared away by Colwell. And back again once with Mavropanos, and they've got to try and build from the back again. Chelsea quite happy for them to have the ball now because they know they can spring on the counter-attack.
Yes, what happens when you got that 2-goal lead? Lovely ball from Kilman though.
Chested down by Kudus on his right-hand side, cuts it on his left foot, tries a shot, takes a deflection, took the power out of it, but it did pop up into the air and just call Sanchez into action. He grabs it and will clear it. I mean, the atmosphere needs a bit of spark now, doesn't it? Because those 2 quick goals from Chelsea have certainly flattened, dampened down what could have been quite a raucous affair.
Well, it's going to, though, isn't it? And then every time Chelsea attack, the supporters are going to be naturally anxious. But Paquetá has just started to get involved in the game, but there's just not enough pressure on the Chelsea players when they've got the ball.
Chelsea got to be careful that they don't get too lackadaisical, because they just picked the ball up in midfield there. There was an opportunity for Caicedo just to force it into Cole Palmer, who'd wandered off a mark. I mean, I don't even know who was supposed to be marking him, but no one was. And instead of giving it to him, they tried to push it out to Madueke and then gave the ball away by being over-ambitious. So they've got to be a little bit careful themselves as well. Caicedo. Back to Colwell, back into Caicedo again, and then Caicedo into Jackson, tries to spin it round the corner but didn't get the right sort of purchase on the ball, and Cole Palmer is having a go at Caicedo for exactly what I sort of mentioned earlier, being a little bit over-ambitious rather than doing the simple things.
Well, because you'd think now with the confidence low of the West Ham defence to go at them again, try and get 3, 4.
Here come Chelsea down the left-hand side. Oh, it looks as if there's a problem here because Crescencio Somerville's gone into the box and Chelsea's Fofana seemed to tug back Crescencio Somerville. Sam Barrett is the referee. The VAR today who will be looking at that incident is Stuart Atwell. But it did look as Crescencio Somerville went down the left channel into the box, but he was tugged back by Fofana. Well, Julian Lopetegui's having a word with the 4th official, who is Craig Pawson. He's upset about the decision not being looked at, not being given in the first place. And now Kudus has been tackled by Enzo Fernandez, who's committed a foul, and that's going to be a free kick. They'll stop the game, and any VAR check that might take place will take place now. What did you think?
Well, unless in terms of when the players are running through, whether it's outside the area, that's the only thing. If not, then I'm pretty sure Somerville doesn't need to be guided in, being held hands with Fofana. Fofana's got hold of him. It's just whether it's enough contact that he's genuinely pulled him back. But he's got hold of his arm. And there's no doubt about that he's got hold of Somerville's arm. It's just whether the referee and the officials feel like there's enough of that for Somerville to then go twisting and falling to the floor in the manner that he did.
It's a penalty.
Well, he's got hold of his arm.
Yeah, it's a penalty. And I'll be absolutely gobsmacked if it isn't overturned here. Sam Barrett speaking to Stuart Atwell. I'm sure that Stuart Atwell will call him over to the monitor, even for a look at it. I mean, unless he has said to Stuart Atwell, look, I've seen that there was a pull. I didn't think there was enough contact. Surely he's got to go and have a look at the monitor. He's not going to, by the way. I mean, it looks like he's getting on with the game. They are still reviewing it, as far as I understand, but no, it doesn't look like he's interested.
But how... This is really frustrating. How can the referee that is on the pitch not go and look at that? That's what I just cannot get my head round, is the referee should at least get a good look at that situation for such a massive call where, from our point of view, even at normal speed, you could tell he had hold of his arm.
Well, Lopetegui's furious. They have a free kick. Emerson will take it into the box. He's flipped behind by Enzo Fernandez. But the row's going to go on here. Somerville darting into the box. He got a little tug back. Now, the referee must have thought that there was not enough contact for him to go down, and therefore they've stuck with the referee's call because they've got this high bar.
But also, I did mention it, as players, when he's got pulled, but then he's flipped his body to the floor. That is not natural.
Here is the corner, Bowen to take it, West Ham coming forward, Chelsea defending well, back in by Wan-Bissaka, the ball drops inside the 18-yard box, still a little scramble going on, Chelsea can't get it clear, bit of head tennis, the ball drops for Alvarez who flicks it backwards, and then a poor clearance by Tosin, right into the air, no distance on it at all, and then Paquetá's wrestling with it. Chelsea struggling to get it away. Back with Kudus to Wan-Bissaka, slips into the box. Paquetá with a chance. It's blocked by Tosin, who got across just in the nick of time. Jadon Sancho stumbles, and it's picked up by Kudus instead. Wan-Bissaka back into the box, feeding the ball into the area, away by Tosin, and then it's cleared away towards this near side once again. But they keep coming, West Ham. Kudus, 6 yards outside the box now. Square into Somerville. Trapped by Palmer. Goes backwards towards Kilman. Then Paquetá picking the ball up in a pocket of space. Tries to feed Kudus. In behind the defence. Kudus against the goalkeeper and in. And West Ham think they're back in it. But only for a brief moment because the offside flag has gone up. Well, what a really well-crafted chance, and Chelsea were under the cosh there. They failed to clear their lines. They wouldn't get the ball away. No one took charge. West Ham kept coming, and fashioned an opportunity, and only by the tiniest of smidgens was Kudus offside.
Yeah, because he just went round the other side of Fernandes, and Chelsea had a really good line, luckily. It meant that Kudus was definitely offside as the ball was played, but how did Paquetá get that ball through? There didn't seem to be a gap. He just pierced it through the legs of the Chelsea defenders in towards Kudus, who tried to make the run in behind Fernandes and just strayed a fraction. It was a great finish in the end, but really, really good pressure from West Ham to just constantly look to get it wide and then back in towards Paquetá, who was free.
Well, they're still checking the disallowed goal, and Sam Barrett now is coming over to book. Is that Julian Lopetegui who's been booked on this near side? I wouldn't be surprised. He's been hammering the eardrums of Craig Pawson on this near side. So it's a yellow card for him. It's currently West Ham 0, Chelsea 2. Really good starts of the game in terms of entertainment value for the neutral. For the latest odds, you can go to Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage. Right now you can get West Ham to come back and win the game at 20-1. The draw 8-1. Chelsea to win 10-1 on. And it's 3-1 for Nicholas Jackson to get a hat-trick. His last hat-trick, you may remember, was against Tottenham back in November of last year. It's his only ever senior hat-trick. That's all thanks to Betfair, who are paying out on winning bets at 90 minutes with 90-minute guarantee. Terms and conditions apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org. It's Talksport. 34 minutes gone. Sam Matterface alongside Dean Ashton here in the London Stadium. Later on today, Tottenham against Brentford is on Talksport 2. We've got Anthony Joshua against Daniel Dubois. 8 o'clock tonight. Our expert team getting you as close to the action as you can possibly get. Live and for free on national radio. 8 o'clock Talksport. Make sure you're with us for that. Look at the space for Jadon Sancho on this left-hand side. And Fernandes has spotted that. And he's moved forward now, Sancho, with the ball at his feet into the penalty area. Going on the outside. Feeding the ball towards Madueke, who's come from right side to left. Back to Sancho. A little trick to get himself free inside the area. Tees it up for Jackson. Jackson's shot takes a deflection. Wasn't the most venomous effort from Jackson. And it's taken a deflection from Mavropanos and into the arms of the goalkeeper Areola, and it's still 2-0.
Absolutely ridiculous, the amount of space that Sancho had there, because Aaron Wan-Bissaka had gone in towards the midfield to press for some reason. It must be something that the manager's talked about. Well out of position, Sancho there, and some street football skills. That's what he is so good at, is just the manipulation of the ball just in front of the defender, because he hasn't got that genuine pace, but what he has got is that shift of the body with the footwork as well. Just try to fashion an angle for a shot. Back underway here. Chelsea have won it back. They thought they should have had a foul, but Chelsea have continued with it. Moises Caicedo has sent Jackson down this left-hand side as Mill will take the lead away at Queen's Park Rangers. More space for Jackson. He's running at Mavropanos again. He moves in towards the penalty area from the left-hand side. He gets a challenge, and that means he loses control of the ball. West Ham almost get it clear, then eventually get it away from Caicedo to get it up to halfway, and then he sees... Paquetá sees Crescencio Somerville hugging the left touchline on halfway, then moves a couple of yards inside the Chelsea half, goes backwards rather than forwards because Chelsea have got back into possession, and now it's with Edison Alvarez. Alvarez out towards the right hand side. Wan-Bissaka decides to come infield, then sends a lovely ball in towards Crescencio Somerville, who'd broken the lines and gone down the right side into the inside right channel, but Sanchez had come out to gather. Accrington 1, Port Vale 0. Chesterfield 1, Cheltenham 0. Brighton Women 1, Everton 0 in the WSL. That game kicking off at 12:30. The featured game that we're focusing on today kicked off at midday. Norwich 1, Watford 1 is the latest scoreline. And if you're interested in the Weir Tees derby, Sunderland against Middlesbrough, it's 1-0. And it's over on Talksport 2 right now. Apparently Watford have missed a really big chance in their game as well. Looks like Thomas Souček is going to come on. I think this is not so much to do with an injury. I think this is to do with a tactical tweak that West Ham are going to make here inside the first 37 minutes. Well, it'll depend who it is, who he's coming on for, but you would expect that. You would expect that Lopetegui's seen enough and needs to change to stop Chelsea on the counter-attack.
They're coming forward with Madueke, fed into the area by Caicedo. Gets it onto his left foot and drills the ball towards the far corner. He wasn't accurate enough with his finish this time. He does love to do that. It's pretty obvious that he's going to try and come in on that left foot. And when he's done that, he's missed the target. Here's the change, and it's Guido Rodriguez who is sacrificed. Thomas Souček is coming on, and I think that's a tactical change.
Well, tactical. If Souček goes in and plays the role that Rodriguez has, it will just be a case that the manager doesn't feel like Rodriguez is up to it in terms of pressurising and that defensive position that he's got. He doesn't look injured. I mean, obviously we'll wait to hear after the game. But it's a big call, and sometimes as a manager you've got to recognise that. You've got to recognise that maybe you've got it wrong, or the team have got it wrong, and you need to change to get a proper foothold in the game, because they've looked so open when Chelsea have attacked.
Well, he's not injured. He's going to sit with his teammates on the bench. He's slapping the hands of all of his colleagues, but maybe it's just because the game passed him by in that first 37 minutes.
It's not a good thing, is it, when you've got a new signing, Argentinian international, that you're dragging off.
There's an area that we did discuss with Roshane earlier on today when we were doing our analysis of the West Ham squad. Max Kilman trying to bring the ball out of defence under pressure. And he did say that he felt as if it was a bit of a problem in terms of pace in that midfield area. And certainly that has been exposed today. Julian Lopetegui once again. Lopetegui is having a go at the fourth official, Craig Pawson. I'll be amazed if he gets through this game without being sent to the stands. He's already got a yellow card. He's upset about a challenge on Bowen over on the far side.
But they've been good in terms of that pressure that West Ham haven't, Chelsea. Whether it's been Colwill or Adebayo or Fofana, Cucurella, they've been really engaging in terms of defensively, not allowing West Ham to just have time on the ball when the ball goes into one of their forwards. Pressurising, making sure that their touch has to be perfect. Not like West Ham have allowed Chelsea, which is a player to get the ball, turn, no pressure, get his head up and play another pass.
You have to say West Ham have looked a little bit jaded, haven't they? They've looked a little bit off the pace today. 39 minutes gone. The referee deciding that the challenge by Fofana on Somerville, that it wasn't sustained holding. That's why he didn't give the penalty.
Well, how long have you got to hold on to a player for that to be sustained?
What constitutes sustained?
Well, again, that can be...
Is this sustained? Was that uncomfortable?
No, not enough.
I was just grabbing his rather, I must admit, quite surprisingly big bicep there. I wasn't expecting it to be that big. It was uncomfortable for me more than you. It was definitely too sustained from my point of view. Anyway, West Ham 0, Chelsea 2. You're listening to live commentary on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has 450 branches with all your vehicles your business need. Been doing the gym, have you?
Oh, a little bit. At least it was only the bicep.
5 minutes before half-time.
Souček isn't a speedster, is he?
No, but he's got a little bit more... He's more up to speed of the Premier League.
Yes, and he's a lot more physical. And actually that physicality in midfield maybe just might help to just slow Chelsea down.
He's also playing 10 yards further up the pitch. He's involved higher up for West Ham, immediately, straight on the front foot, and that, I think, is going to be important. I did think when they were playing with the two, almost like Alvarez and Guido Rodriguez were together in front of the West Ham backline when they had the ball, and then those two sort of number 10s, it meant that they were just a little bit too condensed in that area, and once you beat them, there was so much space to play the other side. Here's Kudus down the right-hand side, going on the outside of Cucurella, into the box, towards Bowen, comes back, towards Souček, who's got a first shot in anger right through a crowd of Chelsea bodies, and it's stopped down low by Robert Sanchez. Well, that's an immediate impact.
I mean, he's so hard to stop, isn't he? Kudus, when he gets into that flow, that way that he just kind of snakes past defenders, kind of one way to the other. He can go both ways, absolutely, in terms of that left foot and the right foot, and he just drifted away from Cucurella into the area, tried to pick out Bowen, couldn't find him when it fell to Souček. He did the right thing. He smashes it low, tries to get it through the defender's legs, but just straight at Sanchez.
Michael Frey scored just one goal in his first 10 games for Queen's Park Rangers, but he's now managed to rack up 4 goals in his first 6 appearances of this season. It's QPR 1, Millwall 1 in the Championship. Remember, you can follow all of the action from the EFL this lunchtime over on Talksport 2. Accrington lead Port Vale, and they've got another chance to go further in front. They might be leading by 2-0 now. Chesterfield lead by 1-0 as well. That's in League 2. Exeter 1-0 up against Stevenage in League 1, and Lincoln 0-0 with Wigan. You're up to date on Talksport. 42 minutes gone. Chelsea 2-0 up here away at West Ham. They have played well away from home. Well, certainly in terms of results at the end of last season and at the beginning of this. And those fast breaks have continued to cause West Ham a problem. And last year when he was at Leicester, the style was very patient. It was all about building up play from the back and going through the thirds. But they didn't mind the odd fast break, a counter. But Chelsea have produced more fast breaks than anyone else in the Premier League so far this season. And I think that's because he's recognised that there is so much pace in this team.
Yeah, but what he has stuck to is he likes his wide players to be wide. He likes to really stretch the opposition and leave space in the middle for his midfield players and his number 10 to be able to get the head up and find either the wide players or Jackson.
Kudus trying to go down the right side. He's collided with Sanchez. He's beaten Sanchez to the ball, kept it in by the byline. I think he probably would have been offside if that had gone to anything significant. Chelsea have managed to clear it just about, and it's half-baked, but Palmer has drawn a foul, and as a result that's going to be a free kick. I mean, it's amazing, this stadium. We're sitting here, we're sort of just right of the halfway line. We're in the middle of the upper tier of this huge bowl of a stadium. There's 60,000 plus in here today, but a lot of the West Ham fans quiet, a little bit frustrated, groaning, and now leaving to get their half-time refreshments. There's quite good half-time refreshments. Walk around the concourses and there's upscale pizza and Thai food, street food from Vietnam to get, as well as your burgers and your pies. They've made a real effort to make it a comfortable place to come and watch football. But the football has left a few West Ham fans feeling a little uncomfortable in the opening 44 minutes of this game.
I think the big worry is the lack of pace at the back, because every time, even then, Cole Palmer tried to play a through ball. Jackson was away. If that ball got through, he was away, and he wasn't going to be caught. And ultimately, it means you've got to be so careful then with your defensive line.
Here's Madueke taking the ball on brilliantly down the right-hand side, flashing across through the box. There was no one there to capitalise. Fernandes has kept it alive on the left edge of the area, though, and Sancho now wandering into the box. He was beaten to it by Alvarez, who came from his blind side. He didn't spot him, and he pinched the ball for West Ham, and he had to, because Jadon Sancho was just lining up a chance then after rescuing that move, which was started by a crossfield ball to the right-hand side. Madueke got the better of Emerson, and Chelsea were in. Now, Fofana holding once again on Somerville, who's working his way to the edge of the box. Somerville, a real handful for Fofana. He's not coping very well with him at all. A yellow card is coming out for him because he had a couple of bites at him there. He should have given away a penalty, in my opinion, in the first 20 minutes of the game. He has given away a free kick on the edge of the box now.
Well, he's probably been the best choice for Fofana in terms of he's the most mobile, the quickest, probably the best at twisting and turning, but still even he can't cope with Somerville. Somerville, when he's at his best, as we saw last season in the Championship, so hard to handle. Again, capable of going both ways. Brilliant turn of acceleration and change of direction. And in the end, he had no choice for Fofana but to just pull him back twice.
That one wasn't sustained, it was repetitive.
Right.
2 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. 45 already on the clock as the free kick comes in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, but it's Mavropanos who gets up and misdirects his header, and it scoots wide of the right hand upright and goes out for a goal kick away to our right hand side.
What are your thoughts on the way that Somerville went down? Because I think it is a big thing.
Everyone goes down theatrically. I mean, listen,
but there's got to be some naturalness to the way that the contact brings you down, surely. And I'm not.
Why?
And I think it was a penalty.
Why?
No, I think it's a penalty. But I'm just saying, you're then trying to manufacture something that isn't real.
But are we then judging? Are we forgetting to judge the actual act itself and concentrating on the impact?
Yeah, possibly, but it all becomes part of one thing, doesn't it? And that's the issue.
Here's Kudus skating past Cucurella and into the right wing position for West Ham, who are on the attack with Wan-Bissaka, who's gone on the overlap, then run into a brick wall that is Moises Caicedo, who stood firm in that. What is it? What colour is it? Is it ecru? That colour? Is that how you would describe Chelsea's kit? It's sort of like a creamy white. And he went bounding into it. Chelsea repelled him, and then there was a foul on Paquetá, which is going to get another free kick to West Ham just before the end.
Most people listening will not have a clue what you've just said.
What? Ecru?
Yeah.
There was another kit. That's where I got it from. It was a Liverpool kit that was ecru, I think. It's guava ice. These kit manufacturers, they love a new colour. Guava ice. That's
I think
what it is.
Chelsea have bossed it this season, though, kit-wise.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah.
What, that horrible flame thing?
Yeah.
Emerson into the penalty area with his free kick. It's flicked on. It scoots through the 6-yard box. It took a deflection off a Chelsea player. There was no West Ham player really near it. Kilman then broke him round the back. Couldn't keep it in. But Chelsea didn't know what was going on.
I mean, first of all, Chelsea thought it was offside. Then they thought it was a flick off a West Ham player. They all just kind of stopped. And luckily, Kilman couldn't quite grab that, or else they would have been out of position.
Here's the corner, right at the end of the first half. Swung towards the penalty spot. It drops inside the box after two West Ham players go for the same ball. One of them was Alvarez. He's kept it alive. Into the box it goes, looking for Paquetá. It's still forward by Mavropanos. Paquetá goes down, but the offside flag is up, and that's the end of the first 45 minutes. Have a listen to a few groans. Yeah, there's one or two of them here as the West Ham players trudge off at half-time. West Ham supporters have only seen their team win just once here at the London Stadium since March, and unless Julian Lopetegui is capable of turning this game on its head, then they're going to go home disgruntled and grumpy again. Two first-half goals from Nicholas Jackson have put Chelsea in control. West Ham will think they should have had a penalty when Crescencio Somerville went down inside the penalty area after holding from Wesley Fofana. The VAR looked at it, decided that he would go with the referee's call. West Ham 45 minutes away from making history, and not in a good way. Half-time, West Ham 0, Chelsea 2.
Sam Musface, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, there'll be a lot of moans from the West Ham fans here, not least because they conceded two Nicholas Jackson goals within 18 minutes of this game. Really difficult one. Of course, weren't awarded a penalty either. And Julian Lopetegui on thin ice here as well. He's as frustrated as the fans are. Also already picked up a yellow card and, of course, made a big change as well by bringing on Thomas Soucek in the hope of trying to shore up his midfield and trying to create some chances going forward. Dean Ashton, do you give him a chance in the second half?
Not if they leave themselves as exposed as they have done on the break, and that lack of mobility at the back is pretty scary. Nicholas Jackson's easily outpacing all of the defensive players through the middle of the pitch, and ultimately if you cannot then get pressure on the ball, which they haven't been able to do very well in that first half, then he's going to be on and a threat every single time Chelsea get the ball. And it's not even a difficult ball, it's just that ball fed over the top or down the side, and he's away. So something to think about, maybe the change of Soucek, because he wanted more pressure on the ball, and Soucek works incredibly hard and he's incredibly physical as well. But then let's give a bit of credit to Chelsea, who I thought used the ball really well. They look like a team that know what they want from the manager, playing out from the back, options for every player that's on the ball, and have controlled most of that half.
Yeah, that's something. In fact, our the athletic correspondent Roshane Thomas, when he came on, the one thing that he said was really clear about West Ham was that there is no clear identity, whereas with Chelsea you feel that there is a plan to Enzo Maresca's thinking. There is a pattern of play that's now emerging that West Ham simply cannot deal with.
No, I mean you can see the patterns that Leicester used last season. You can now see that with Chelsea, but they've got that option to go longer, quicker. But they did for Leicester. They had brilliant wide players as well that Enzo Maresca likes to use, and use that width really well to open up the space in the middle of the pitch. But West Ham do look like a team that have been working on something with the manager. New manager, of course, wants his own ideas. They're working on it. They don't get it yet.
Yeah.
They do not
Whatever
get it yet.
Is, they don't get it.
They're out of position when they shouldn't be. People are pressing. One's pressing and one's not. Whether it's in midfield, some worrying signs at the moment. Things can change, and they have to change very quickly.
Well, it feels like they were completely asleep for that first goal. Mavropanos, I don't know where he was for that opening goal after 2 minutes. So you could say that maybe they weren't prepared.
He was out of position. He didn't sprint back.
Yeah.
He didn't sprint back and make sure he got between himself and the goalkeeper. He ambled back towards the 6-yard line. Jackson ran all the way through to the goal. That's simply unacceptable in my eyes, and the manager can't do that. That's the player.
And for the second goal, it was just too easy in midfield for Chelsea to keep the ball.
Well, if there's no pressure on the ball, you have to drop. West Ham didn't. Chelsea just get their head up and just play a pass right through the middle of your defence. That's embarrassing. It is. Yeah. It is from a West Ham perspective, and that's why this place was so flat after it.
Yeah, West Ham definitely, maybe should have had that penalty given for the challenge on Somerville, but it wasn't. So they've got a lot of work to do in the second half, which is coming up after this. At the half-time then at the London Stadium, it is West Ham 0, Chelsea 2.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with Sky Sports. Stream more Sky Sports football than ever before. Available with no contract on now. Like Crystal Palace versus Manchester United live today. Search Now Sports. 18+. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
The Philly cheese stack is back at McDonald's. 2 beef patties, crispy and grilled onions, cheddar cheese, all topped with a melted cheddar cheese sauce. What could be better? How about playing the Monopoly game with a Philly cheese stack too? Yes, please. Until 15th of October from 11 a.m. Participating UK restaurants. Subject to availability. 18+. App may be required. See mcdrules.co.uk.
Settle down for a night of crime. Witness a heist. Follow a car chase. Eat too much popcorn. Meet a mafia boss. Join in on a bank robbery. Think about making a cup of tea. Be too comfortable to get up. For less.
Selected IKEA sofas are now at a new lower price, along with thousands of other products. IKEA, the wonderful everyday.
Football is back, and it's game on. Get the ultimate football coverage with the Sun's free pull-out goals. With the best writers pitchside for in-depth match reports, it's all about goals. And with unrivaled news from the Premier League to League Two, it has to be goals. Stay up to date on all the latest football action. Get your free copy of Goals every Saturday, Sunday and Monday, only in the Sun.
At Betfair, we're about finding different ways to play. Like with our 90-minute guarantee. We've all been there. The clock ticks over into 90 minutes, and then a speculative cross into the box ricochets off a knee and goes in, ruining your bet. But with Betfair's 90-minute guarantee, if your bet is winning at 90 minutes or full time, we pay out. Betfair. Play different.
Applies to match odds 90 market or markets with the 90 icon. Sportsbook exclusive. Terms and conditions apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Screwfix Sprint delivers from store to door in 60 minutes or less. So, whatever the job, you can do it with less hassle and more hustle. Less pausing and more pressing on. So don't break your stride. Screwfix Sprint. Order now exclusively on a Screwfix app. £5 delivery charge, no minimum spend. Don't stop. Sprint. Conditions and geographical restrictions apply. Selected products.
You don't just check in to a village hotel. You work out. You jump in. You play on. You tuck in. And drink up. Village Hotels. 33 locations with everything under one roof. A huge gym with pool and great membership opportunities. And a buzzing pub and grill with delicious food, ice-cold beers and live sport. Check out villagehotels.com and work out, stay, meet and play.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Watching the big game cozied up in the snug. Balmy summer nights with the kids playing on the lawn.
We're playing real-life football!
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of April 2024 and 30th of June 2024 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
Champions League live on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day.
Game day. Bringing you another weekend of electrifying live football.
What a finish.
It's goal time.
That's it.
Game day exclusive on Talksport.
I'm Rashmin Chowdhury. You're listening to Game Day Exclusive live on Talksport. Our Premier League kickoff is here at the London Stadium, where at half-time it is West Ham 0, Chelsea 2. Elsewhere in the 12:30 kickoffs in the Championship on Talksport 2, it's Sunderland 1, Middlesbrough 0, QPR 1, Millwall 1, Norwich City 2, Watford 1. In League 1, it's Exeter City 1, Stevenage 0, and Lincoln City 0, Wigan Athletic 0. In League 2, it's Accrington Stanley 2, Port Vale 0, Chesterfield 1, Cheltenham 0, and in the WSL it is Brighton 1, Everton 0, and they're into the second half at Old Trafford in the midday kickoff. And Talksport's Natalie Pike is watching this one for us.
It's Manchester United 3, West Ham 0. 25 minutes left here, and the third goal of the game came for Grace Clinton. It was a lovely weighted cross from Lisa Nelson into the box, which was easily headed home by the PFA Young Player of the Year. She was totally unmarked in the box, and Shemik looked rooted to a spot. It is a really impressive performance today by the Reds. Manchester United 3, West Ham 0.
Thank you, Natalie. It is round 3 of the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth, and rounding up all the action for us is Talksport's Rupert Bell.
And the leaders are getting to the halfway stage of this third round. Matt Baldwin, the surprise leader at the halfway stage, is hanging tough. He's still at 13 under par. A round that has included 2 bogeys, 2 birdies. He's playing the 9th. Rory McIlroy, though, is breathing down his neck. A spectacular eagle at the 4th hole, the par 5, and also a birdie at the 7th has moved him to 12 under par. The same mark as Matteo Manacero, a former champion back in 2013, when just 20. Also on the move, England's Aaron Wright has got to 10 under, 4 under for his round, but it's Baldwin who still leads.
Rupert, thank you. Now England's cricketers are looking to bounce back against Australia in the second one-day international in Leeds today. Watching for us is Guy Swindles.
And they're doing a pretty good job of it, because Australia, having been put in 194 for 6 in the 34th over, 2 spinners at the opposite ends of their career doing the damage. 2 wickets for Jacob Bethel, removing Marsh for 60 and Marnus Labuschagne, and then Glenn Maxwell became Adil Rashid's 200th one-day victim. 194 for 6 in the 34th.
Thank you very much indeed, Guy. Now we're here at the London Stadium. It is half-time in the London derby. It's West Ham 0, Chelsea 2. So let's get the latest from Betfair, shall we? The official betting partner of TalkSport's Premier League coverage.
Odds update on TalkSport with Betfair. Get a completely free ACCA or bet builder on football this weekend. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Max free bet varies from £1 to £10 per customer. Minimum odds and T's and C's apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Sam Rossbottom from Betfair joins us now. Sam, it's been so miserable for West Ham in that first half, but there was a little sort of glimmer in the last sort of quarter of an hour or so of that second half, and of course they had that penalty attempt which wasn't given. How's it looking for the second half then, Sam?
Yeah, like you said, West Ham with a couple of chances, some glimmers of hope, but if you look at the odds, they've got a bit of a mountain to climb. Chelsea as short as 1 to 14 to make it 5 Premier League away wins on the bounce. Can West Ham salvage anything? The draw 10 to 1 and a complete turnaround. A Hammers win 30 to 1. Nicholas Jackson with both the goals in that first half. We've odds boosted him to score a hat-trick. That's now 4 to 1. Before the match, he was around 80 to 1 to get 3 goals. I'm sure he'll make some punters very happy if he gets another goal in the second half. Looking at our charity bet builder raising money for the Bobby Moore Fund, Sam went for both teams to score. We've obviously got the Chelsea goal. We could do with a West Ham goal in that one. Jared Bowen to have 2 or more shots. He's had 1. We need 1 more. And Mark Cucurella to commit 2 or more fouls. He hasn't had any so far in the game, so we need him to get stuck in. If all 3 of those land, then that bet builder will return £227 from our £50 charity stake. We backed it at around 7 to 2 before kick-off, so fingers crossed that we can raise some money for the Bobby Moore Fund.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Those 3 may still land. There's still a possibility of all of them. Thank you very much, Sam Rossbottom from Betfair. That odds update is all thanks to Betfair. Returns accurate as of 10 minutes ago. For verification, see betfair.com. Over 18s only. Conditions apply. Go to begambleaware.org.
Odds update on TalkSport with Betfair. Get a completely free ACCA or bet builder on football this weekend. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Max free bet varies from £1 to £10 per customer. Minimum odds and T's and C's apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Now, following us on Talksport, Adrian Durham will be taking you around the grounds with all the goals as they go in the Premier League and the EFL in Game Day Live. He is based at the King Power today for Leicester City against Everton. Adrian, how are you doing? Is it as sunny there as it is here in London?
Yeah, it is sunny. Yeah, nice blue skies. And I've got to say, I'm okay, but I'm still reeling from Sam using the word ecru. I mean, I'm not sure that's been used since 1889, that word.
Yeah.
So, yeah, amazing. Absolutely. This is the kind of vocabulary you get on Talksport. I love it.
Yeah, that's the kind of vocabulary you get when Sam Matterface is in town. I'm still sort of reeling from the guava ice shirt. This is on the back of the programme. It says that Chelsea, they've got sort of the squad there, and it says what they'll be dressed in. They'll be wearing guava ice shirts, guava ice shorts and blue socks. You're like, who uses guava ice?
I prefer ecru.
I think I prefer ecru as well. Indeed. Adrian, look, you're watching two teams who are desperate for a victory.
Absolutely, yeah, they're pretty miserable, both sets of fans. Leicester thought they had it last week, and then Palace came back for a 2-2 draw. So 2 draws, 2 defeats actually isn't that bad for a newly promoted side. But given what happened last week, they'll feel like it was a defeat. Everton bottom and pointless, as we know. Some are saying it's Sean Dyche's last stand if they lose today. It will be if they go 2-0 up and lose 3-2. But, you know, I'm not even sure they can afford to sack Sean Dyche at Everton, given the situation at the moment. So I think it's bad news all round for them. They've got massive injuries as well, so much so that Sean Dyche had a big list of them in his press conference before the game. So it's who's going to be the least worst of the two, I think.
I think that's probably how it's going to pan out there, isn't it? Yeah, fans, you could be in for a miserable afternoon. But you never know. I mean, Everton do put themselves into these good positions and they lose it, and Leicester City have been doing the same. Either way, it will be interesting for you, Adrian. Thank you so much for joining us. Adrian Durham there is at the King Power. He'll be with Game Day Live following us here at the London Stadium, where it is West Ham against Chelsea, a London derby. The second half's just kicking off. Dean Ashton and Sam Matterface, over to you.
And remember, when you are on your way to wherever you are today. I mean, I was just thinking about myself there going home, and I'll have the TalkSport app on, and you can download it from anywhere and have it on your phone. You can flick between the two stations. You've got commentary of Tottenham Brentford on TalkSport 2, and Adrian taking you round the grounds today. The best goal service on your radio. We're back underway at the start of the second half here in East London, and the ball is with West Ham. They're coming down the right, charging forward Wan-Bissaka, but his pass was poor, and it's cleared away by Chelsea. West Ham in claret shirts with blue sleeves, white shorts and white socks. Chelsea in guava ice kits with blue trim and blue socks, attacking the goal away to our right. I'll go through the two lineups in just a second. Paquetá sends the ball forward down the right side into the penalty area. Souček keeps it alive. It comes to Kudus inside the box, goes to twist past Cucurella. Good tackle by him and cleared away by Chelsea up to Nicholas Jackson, and he plays it back into midfield, gets it off Caicedo, who was fouled, but the referee plays the advantage. Jackson canters forward. He's got Palmer coming on the outside. He bursts into the box and nets brilliantly in off the post, and Chelsea score after just 70 seconds of the restart. Cole Palmer runs away to celebrate. It's another fast break from Chelsea, and they are fast becoming goal-scoring machines. The second top scorers in the Premier League this season have just equalled Manchester City's total already. It's West Ham United 0, Chelsea 3. Cole Palmer.
Frozen, iced, cold Cole Palmer. Honestly, when he gets in front of goal, this guy, he is just so calm. Again, it was a really good break from Chelsea. They played their way through midfield. Caicedo got absolutely crunched by Souček when he played that ball to Jackson, and they were away. Kilman on his own, and it's such an intelligent run from Cole Palmer. He just sizes up what's happening with Jackson running at Kilman. He spots the space to Kilman's right, so he arcs his run round the back of Jackson. He finds the pass, and then when he gets in, he just picks his spot near post. Because he's got his head up, because he's so calm, he sees the space, kissing the inside of the near post and rippling the back of the net.
Well, I'm just watching, and this stadium is not full because people are still coming in from half-time, and there is a couple that have just walked in, a middle-aged gentleman, and he is, I'm guessing it's his partner. They're walking hand in hand. They've got a burger in one hand and a drink in another. They came into the stadium, they looked up at the scoreboard, looked at each other, looked at their food, and they went, what is going on? And then sort of slowly meandered back towards their seat. They didn't even get back in time for the start of the second half. And West Ham have already found themselves in a position where they are now 3-0 down. And I said to you just before the start of the second half, because of Chelsea's fragility at the back, and they've shown that this season so far, if West Ham get the first goal of this second 45, then I'm not ruling anything out. I think I am now.
I'm just astonished that with the issues that they had in the first half, with being exposed at the back, that they would leave themselves so open and leave Kilman completely on his own from a counter-attack. There was no, like you said, you want to get back into the game in the second half and give Chelsea something to really think about, and you're just wide open then for them to counter-attack. And then there's frustration that's starting to be shown because Cole Palmer's been absolutely hacked by Alvarez on this near side.
He's got a yellow card for that, hasn't he?
Rightly so. He's just meant it. That's why he's gone right through the back of Cole Palmer's calf.
I mean, Chelsea beat them 5-0 at the end of last season at Stamford Bridge. There's every chance of a repeat of that. We've still got 40 minutes to go. Chelsea lead by 3-0, and West Ham United are struggling just a little bit. I mean, it's been an area really where Chelsea have struggled on the road recently, but they do seem to have a good record at West Ham against West Ham overall. One win in their previous 7 visits here this time around. But they take so many points in London derbies. 23 points last season in the Premier League in London derbies. Only Arsenal took more than that in derby matches, and they only got 24. West Ham United didn't have a great record in London derbies last season, and they haven't got a great record today. They trailed by 3-0, and I actually think, when you look at the overall start to the season, it's been a difficult start at home. Aston Villa, Manchester City and Chelsea. Tough games for Julian Lopetegui. But because they didn't win at Fulham, because they weren't brilliant in the game against Crystal Palace, all of a sudden there'll be a few eyebrows being raised, I think, amongst the West Ham support.
Well, because they want to see a difference as well. But actually, they're trying to obviously keep the ball a bit more. But they look way more open than a David Moyes side. So actually, you haven't yet got the scintillating football, and you've lost the defensive solidity at times that David Moyes could bring because of the way they would sit in and then counter-attack.
Jackson with the assist for Cole Palmer's goal means that he's been involved in everything so far for Chelsea, who lead by 3-0. And it's chested down by Tosin Adarabioyo. He kicks it clear. I mean, there will be complaints by West Ham, and legitimately so, about the penalty decision. Wan-Bissaka sends it forward. Bowen down the left-hand side, shoots towards the near corner, fended away by Robert Sanchez. Chelsea just a little bit too deep there, and the ball went over the top to Bowen, whose shot was from a very tight angle and was always going to be a struggle to beat Sanchez from there, but he did force a save from the Spanish goalkeeper. Palmer, good close control, lovely tuck round the corner for Madueke. They go on the charge again, Chelsea. A little bit of almost a wrong ball from Madueke down this right side, looking for Jackson. He went so narrowly down into the right channel when Palmer had made a really intelligent run through the centre of the pitch. He didn't pick him out. He decided to go for Jackson, and it's cleared away by West Ham.
But the Chelsea players can sense it every time they win the ball back.
And they've got it again. Jackson going through the middle, played in by Palmer. Again, they require Souček to come across and help out because they'd given the ball away initially from the clearance by West Ham. They turned it over high up, Chelsea, and they were almost in again. Carlos Soler about to come on to try and change the picture in this game. Antonio coming on as well for West Ham United, but they need a seismic shift in the tempo of this game and the momentum, because Chelsea lead by 3-0.
And ultimately, it's about intensity. If you're going to allow players like Enzo Fernandez, like Cole Palmer, Sancho and the like to receive under no pressure, that is simply never going to work. It's not going to work in the Premier League because of the quality of player, and that is what they've lacked. They've lacked that intensity to get about this Chelsea team, especially when they lose the ball and they're out of position. They're not able to put enough pressure on Chelsea to make it difficult for them.
Chesterfield 1, Cheltenham 1 is the latest score in League 2 as West Ham come forward with Paquetá into the penalty area, tries to skip his way past Caicedo with a good challenge, and it's cleared away to the near side and Cole Palmer. Alvarez commits another foul. I think he might be the player that comes off here, because I think Lopetegui is thinking to himself, he's got a yellow card already. We don't want any more problems. And indeed, that's exactly what is happening. Carlos Soler coming on, and off goes Edison Alvarez.
It's absolutely the sensible decision. Somerville coming off, however, seems a little strange. I thought he was very good in that first half when he was allowed to get forwards.
Well, Somerville is coming off, hence the boos, and Antonio coming on, and that is quite audible boos from the West Ham support about that decision from Julian Lopetegui. And Somerville is guided back to the bench. He's obviously a new signing. He gets a big clap from the West Ham fans behind the bench. In fact, a lot of them standing up and applauding his contribution. There's not been many contributions to applaud, but taking him off seems to be something that is only going to frustrate the West Ham supporters, not placate them.
Oh, and that's slightly difficult as well, isn't it, for Antonio to come on to sense that as a player.
He's playing a dicey game there, Alphonse Areola, and he was being closed down by Jackson. Jackson, who is, I think, hungry for more goals here. They are going to make a change here, because Kudus has come out to the left-hand side, Bowen's gone out to the right, Antonio through the middle. But Soler is bursting down the right-hand side for West Ham. He's crossing to the box, he's aimed towards Antonio, away by Tosin, and then collected on the edge of the box by Bowen once again. Cucurella heads it clear. Chelsea can't get hold of it. Turned back by Paquetá, out to the right. Now Soler trying to poke it forward. He's lost the ball, and now Enzo Fernandez has held it well, and so has Palmer. Tosses it in behind, but interestingly, it's is that Max Kilman? It's Mavropanos who's just got underneath the ball there and turned it out towards this near touchline in front of Jackson, who can't get hold of it on this occasion. Chelsea going to bring on Disasi.
Well, I just keep my eyes on Nicholas Jackson. Every time Chelsea win the ball, he just turns and spins. As soon as they win the ball in midfield, he just turns and spins into one of the channels, because he knows he's got the beating now of pace against these two centre-backs.
Madueke, who's got the beating of Paquetá for pace as well, and he's gone down the outside and he's hugging the touchline, running down the right. A ball into the box with the outside of his boot was a bit too casual, but he's done his best to try and win it back after Kilman managed to clear. And then it's popped out towards the near touchline where Kudus has taken it on. He's elevated the ball high up over the top of the Chelsea defence, hoping for Antonio to run onto that. But Robert Sanchez came out of his goal, dealt with it, swept up, and Chelsea have got it back again. On the halfway line, Palmer tries a little trick to turn away from Kilman, gets found, free kick. Pedro Neto is coming on as well as Disasi, just to add just a little bit of spice to the Chelsea attack, just to cause more problems. Off comes Wesley Fofana. Can't see the numbers on the board in the sunlight, but it is Fofana who's going to be relieved that he hasn't got to deal with anybody after a tough time against Somerville. On comes Disasi, and the other change, Jadon Sancho being replaced by Pedro Neto.
I think that's probably the right call in terms of Disasi coming on. Fofana with a yellow card, and then Kudus coming across to this side as well. A difficult man to deal with. Disasi more physically imposing as well, to tuck in alongside Tosin Adarabioyo. And then Sancho again, decent display, and what player to bring on. Neto on that side.
Goes out towards the far left-hand side, Pedro Neto. When he was going through his two players for each position yesterday, Enzo Maresca, he listed Pedro Neto as a right winger, and his two left wingers were Mykhailo Mudryk and Jadon Sancho. Well, he's playing on the left now, and it'll be interesting to see what impact he has. Mykhailo Mudryk, who's very much sitting on the bench at this moment in time. 57 gone. Elsewhere today, it is Norwich 2, Watford 1 in the Championship, a 12:30 kickoff. Queen's Park Rangers 1, Millwall 1, Sunderland 1, Middlesbrough 0 on Talksport 2. In League 2, it's Accrington 2, Port Vale 0, and Chesterfield 1, Cheltenham 1. And in League 1, Exeter in front against Lincoln. This is Talksport. Exeter in front, against Stevenage. Lincoln 0-0 with Wigan. Here is Paquetá trying to feed the ball out towards the left. He's stopped from doing so by Caicedo. Back it comes to Souček. wide it goes further on to Bowen. Bowen with Wan-Bissaka on the overlap. He hesitated, but eventually got it out to the former Manchester United man, who comes infield, left-footed from the postage stamp, delivers across towards Kudus, into the 6-yard box. He kept it alive brilliantly around Madueke, feathered the ball into the 6-yard box, but Antonio couldn't provide the finish. He kept that in when it looked like it was escaping the perimeter of the playing service. Here's Mavropanos charging forward, gets it back to Soler after an effort crashes into Colwill, and it's cleared away. But quickly, Chelsea go on the counter, and Jackson is trying to outpace Kilman, who this time positions himself really well, just steps across Jackson, and it's away by Sanchez. But Chelsea knew that ball was on, and as soon as the move broke down by West Ham, they'd overcommitted men forward, they went straight over the top.
But he just gave himself 10 yards, which is exactly what you need to do when you're up against pace. Just give yourself a few more yards. Kilman did that, he spotted it, made sure he was in the right position, and then it was made a lot easier for himself. I mean, I'm not quite sure how Kudus managed to keep that in. Elastically wrapping his leg around Disasi to poke it back, and Antonio just wasn't expecting it. Otherwise, if he'd have just gambled ahead of his defender, it literally would have just tapped it in.
Talksport on a Saturday lunchtime, bringing you live coverage of the London derby between West Ham and Chelsea. A London derby which is very much going to end up in a blue day today. 3-0 to Chelsea. Here on the left side is Emerson to Carlos Soler, who was a deadline day signing from Paris Saint-Germain. Back to the left side of the centre circle, inside the Chelsea half, as West Ham come forward down the right, collected by Mavropanos onto the far side. Wan-Bissaka takes on Neto, twists him, turns him, gets it back onto his left foot, produces a really good cross into the box, which Disasi has to stretch, reach and nod over the top, and it goes out for a corner. You're listening to West Ham 0, Chelsea 3 on Talksport with Sky Sports. And don't forget, you can stream more Sky Sports football than ever before. Available with no contract on now. Like Crystal Palace against Manchester United, live today. Search Now Sports.
He has that Wan-Bissaka. He has that ability to get forwards and cut back. It's then just that delivery that he needs to improve. And that was 2 on the trot now with his left foot that he's curled in towards the far post. That were very, very good. On the hour mark, Bowen with the delivery in towards the edge of the 6-yard box in the middle of the goal. Sanchez, brilliant, comes out, collects it superbly, commands and then bowls it out to the near side, and Palmer is steaming forward now. He's got Jackson on this right side, Madueke through the middle. Jackson can join and tries to get on the end of a ricochet, doesn't quite fall for him, and it's eventually out on this near side. Why don't they just talk to each other? You know, Jackson and Madueke there, they got in each other. In the end, Jackson ended up kicking Madueke when he tried to take the shot because he was there. Just speak to each other.
Well, West Ham United, the first club to play their opening 5 matches of a Premier League season in London since Charlton in 2006-07. But it's not going particularly well for them at this moment in time. 4 points after 5 games is not a great return, and certainly it hasn't been a great performance. Madueke with a little back heel into the path of Palmer, who gets nobbled by Emerson. Referee says play on because Chelsea have got the ball. They're up to the halfway line. Poor ball by Caicedo. West Ham have got it back once again. Lots of games upcoming on Talksport to keep you in touch with around the grounds with Adrian Durham. We've got live commentary as well from the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs have lost 7 of their last 11 games in the Premier League. How will they get on against Brentford today? Ian Danter.
They've reverted back, Sam, to the team that took to the field against Arsenal last Sunday, so the 8 changes for the cup tie cancelled out in midweek. Bissouma, though, is back on the bench for Tottenham. Brentford make 2 changes from the defeat at Manchester City last Saturday. Carvalho and Yarmolyuk come in for Norgard and the injured Visser. At the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's Spurs against Brentford.
West Ham with a corner, sending it in towards the near post. It's punched away by Sanchez, picked up by Madueke. Oh dear, Palmer is breaking, and so is Madueke, and there's no one between him and the goalkeeper. He steams up towards the edge of the penalty area. A left-footed drive saved by Areola, and how important was that? Because Madueke had the whole green grass of the West Ham half to run into. He did that, but he couldn't find the finish at the very last. It's still 3-0 to Chelsea.
Poor finish in the end. Very, very poor. Straight out the goalkeeper. Needed a bit more finesse like Cole Palmer had with his finish. And actually, if we're being really critical, he probably should have just turned back and played it to Cole Palmer, who was completely free in the middle of the penalty area. Instead, Madueke went for it himself. It was a poor finish and will be his last act.
Well, 2 changes for Chelsea. And the thing is when you've got so many players of good quality, you can make changes and not weaken the team. Madueke comes off for João Felix. And on comes Christopher Nkunku for Nicholas Jackson. No, Madueke isn't coming off. I think it's going to be Cole Palmer who's going to come off after all that.
Yeah, I wonder if Cole Palmer just maybe gestured to the panel, to the substitutes bench, just to say maybe an issue. He's taken a couple of whacks, to be fair.
Yeah. Off he comes, and on comes João Felix as a result of that. So he will go into the number 10 position behind Nkunku now, who will lead the line for Chelsea. Have a throw over on the far side, which Cucurella will take in towards Nkunku, takes it down, tees it back up for Fernandes, edge of the area, finds Caicedo. Caicedo 10-15 yards from the edge of the box. It's sent back to the halfway line. So let's go off to Liverpool, who gave a set-piece masterclass in midweek in the San Siro. So what's in the offing today? Matt Jones.
Well, the big news for Liverpool is that Alisson misses out in goal due to a muscle injury. He's replaced by Kelleher, while Robertson, Diaz and Nunes are recalled in for Tsimikas, Jota and Gakpo. There's also a change in net for Bournemouth. Kepa is back after being ineligible to face parent club Chelsea last week, so Travers drops out, while Hussein Anarocco replaced Smith and Senesi. It's Liverpool against Bournemouth at Anfield.
Newcastle love going to Fulham, but who have they been able to take with them today, Ollie Klink?
They've been able to take Alexander Isak, who starts for Newcastle, having overcome a late fitness issue. They also bring in Trippier, Kelly, Willock and Barnes. Meanwhile, Fulham are unchanged from their draw with West Ham, so there are starts for Smith Rowe, Iwobi and Jimenez.
Wolves have had a tough start, but they don't lose often at Villa Park. Jake Robson.
One change by Unai Emery from Villa's Champions League win at Young Boys in midweek. Carlos in for Bogard for Wolves, and it's 9 changes from Carabao Cup defeat at Brighton, but it's the same side that lost to Newcastle last week.
No fixture has a higher percentage of draws than this one in Premier League history. Team news from Leicester Everton comes from Jeff Peters.
And well, Bilal El Khanous makes his full Leicester debut. Oliver Skipp drops out. Odsonne Edouard in the squad for the first time. Everton had doubts over Tarkowski, Keane, Garner and Calvert-Lewin, but all start. Mikolenko and Gay miss out. Mangala makes his first league start for the Toffees.
Pedro Neto speeding away down the right-hand side for Chelsea. Nkunku, Fernandes, then back to João Felix into the side netting. Popped up on the volley. He smacked it from about 8 yards out, just left of the 6-yard box. He missed the target and rifled the rigging behind the goal.
Training ground football, isn't it, from Chelsea? From 2 or 3 of their substitutes, Neto and Nkunku in towards João Felix. Lovely first touch. Swivel. And then looking to volley, like you said, towards that near post. Just drags it slightly, but when good players play quickly, 1 and 2 touch, it's very difficult to stop.
Norwich leading by 3-1 now. Chelsea looking for another here. They've won it on the high press, and Nkunku's popped it back to Felix inside the area. He should have gone the other side where Caicedo had made the run. Still, they've got numbers forward here. It's Fernandes into Caicedo. He gets tackled from behind as he tries to pull the trigger. It took a deflection from Mavropanos and goes out on this near side. Off to Southampton. 2 promoted sides at the chin from the Championship clashing at St Mary's in front of Talksport. Alfie Reynolds.
Here's 4 changes for Southampton from their defeat to Man United. The suspended Stevens is replaced by Harwood Bellis, with Taylor, Lallana and Fraser coming in for Walker Peters, Ugochukwu and Brereton Diaz. For Ipswich, 1 change. Calvin Phillips is injured and replaced by Jens Kajusti.
Knockout coverage from the big boxing bout later. Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois, IBF heavyweight title on the line, live on Talksport from 8 tonight. Make sure you're with us for that. Chelsea preparing their corner, which they still haven't taken. And Fernandes and Neto standing over it, just discussing who's going to do what. There's a little bit of a change here. There's a lot of wrestling going on inside the box. Ball in towards the near post, poked away by the goalkeeper. Areola got a good clean punch on that, managed to reach the edge of the 18-yard box. Now it comes out to Fernandes. Fernandes then plays it wide onto Neto. Neto faces up the defender, then decides to keep going when he didn't really have a gap to squeeze through. Plays it off Emerson. It goes out for a corner on this near side. This is Talksport. Fran Kirby has scored for Brighton's women in the WSL. That gets underway this weekend. Victory for Chelsea last night. Manchester United still in action at this moment in time. Brighton 3-0 up now against Everton. And we've got a full commentary tomorrow. Arsenal, Manchester City from the Emirates on Talksport 2 at lunchtime tomorrow. Manchester United 3-0 up in stoppage time. We'll get to Natalie Pike on the full-time whistle. Here is Neto near side from the corner. Left footed into the box. Deep to the far post. Headed away by Soche. Drops for Felix inside the area. And I think, well, Colwell was in an offside position when he's touched that. And a free kick is going to be given. Here's Dean Ashton.
Yeah, and his foot was high. Rampezaga brave with the header. But they're toying with West Ham. That's what's going to be so frustrating for the West Ham supporters is Chelsea are toying with them. And yet there's well over 20 minutes to play still in this game.
And West Ham about to bring on Aaron Cresswell and Andy Irving, who they picked up from Klagenfurt in Austria last summer, load him back as an ex-Falkirk midfielder. He's coming into the West Ham team for the latter stages of this game. Caicedo wrestling with Kudus, who's got away from him down the left-hand side, produces a cross. It's too close to the goalkeeper. It's an easy catch for Robert Sanchez. Well, we've got 20 minutes to go here, and the West Ham fans look a little bit like they've seen all this before. What are the solutions here? What's gone wrong? How does Julian Lopetegui take stock of this and think, right, OK, I'll sort this out for next week, because the next game is Carabao Cup trip away at Liverpool. They've got Brentford away after that. Never an easy game, especially with the way that they high press. Ipswich at home here, who will now be thinking, actually, we might be able to get some points. Tottenham away, Manchester United at home, and Forest away, and that takes us up to the middle of November.
Well, ultimately,
Paquetá sends a cross into the box. It's caught by Sanchez.
Ultimately, it was going to be the change of style that he's trying to implement. You can just see they're not ready for it, or they've not done enough work on it.
They're getting done again down the left-hand side. Neto is speeding past the defender, gets into the box, plays it against him, goes out. As a slide tackle comes in right on the edge of the 6-yard box. As down that left flank once again, Pedro Neto prepared to cross. It was blocked by Mavropanos, who walks away with his head almost on his chest, his chin so drooped because he is losing faith. I wonder whether or not West Ham's women lost faith halfway through the game at Old Trafford today. Natalie Pike.
They may well have done it. Finished Manchester United 3, West Ham 0. Not a good day for the West Ham women or men, it sounds, but a very impressive day for the Reds. The opening goal came in the 28th minute. The Jay-Z stealing the ball and rolling, calmly slotting it into the back of the net. United doubled the lead in the last minute of the half. After cutting inside from the left, Galton unleashed a beautiful right-footed shot into the bottom corner. They made it then 3 with an easily headed goal for Grace Clinton. She's back at Old Trafford after a hugely successful season-long loan at Spurs, which saw her called up to the Lionesses. A bit of redemption for United. Their last game here obviously saw that thumping 6-0 defeat by Chelsea, and that's now 4 seasons in a row that they've won their opening WSL game. A comfortable day for the Reds, and what might be the start of a very difficult season for West Ham. Manchester United 3, West Ham 0.
Cheers, Natalie. Natalie, I'm sure, will be at Manchester City against Arsenal tomorrow. We'll be bringing you full commentary of Arsenal against Manchester City in the WSL tomorrow. Joe Shannon and West Ham women's manager Rhian Skinner, part of the team that will bring you full commentary from the Emirates. I think Joe will have to tiptoe nicely around what's happened today for Rhian Skinner. Unfortunately, there was no chance that Mohamed Kudus could tiptoe around the challenge from Mark Cucurella, who has just whacked him straight up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, Kudus just got there ahead of Cucurella, who totally committed, but then Kudus just went flying, somersaulting over the top of Cucurella's legs and absolutely deserved his yellow card.
Off comes Paquetá, on comes Irving, and off comes Emerson, and on comes Cresswell. The 2 changes for West Ham United. And
I mean, ultimately for West Ham, my opinion was it was a strange appointment. It was. When you're looking at a reason to get rid of David Moyes, would be the style, would be looking to move forwards with that, then Lopetegui, to me, wasn't that person. If you looked at the way he played at his previous clubs, that was never going to be a massive change. It wasn't.
No, he was always defence-first coach. But listen, for whatever reason, they've gone down this route. Maybe he sold it slightly differently, as Irving, on his first touch in a West Ham shirt, pops it up and then shoots from 25 yards out. Goes straight down the front of Robert Sanchez, and then it will be cleared away.
Well, why not? Why not? You've just come on, trying to lift this place. That would have done it, by the way. That would have sailed into the top corner.
Soler back to the right side. West Ham United. Jared Bowen on the ball, going into the box, trying to find Antonio's little flick doesn't quite come off. He's got a very good record against Chelsea, Mikel Antonio. He has been involved in 5 goals in his last 6 Premier League games against them, but he hasn't had any service since the start of his appearance here, coming off the bench today. A little flick, the first effort he's had on target, but didn't carry the weight of someone who was confident with what he was doing. Axel Disasi has just done a balletic pirouette on the ball to go past Aaron Cresswell down this right-hand side. And now, as a result of that, Felix has been able to release Madueke, who bursts into the box. He comes off the defender before it reaches Nkunku and goes narrowly wide and out for a corner kick on this near side. When Axel Disasi, who is one of, let's be kind, the larger players in the Premier League, is doing turns like that around you, you've got problems.
We're capable of it, us big boys. We know how to Maradona turn when we need to do it. Don't worry about that. Disasi's got it in the locker. But he shouldn't be, should he? He shouldn't be allowed to be. Feels like taking.
It did look like he was doing it in slow motion.
But once he released it again, West Ham's wide areas have just been so exposed. So much space for Chelsea players.
Caicedo's cross from the right side into the box. It's headed away by Paquetá. Comes back out towards Neto. They're first to everything, Chelsea. Neto going down the outside of Cresswell. He's beaten him. Gets to the byline. Then gets tackled by the retreating Soler, but has left space for Caicedo, who picks out a cross towards the far post. Colwell with a header, headed towards goal by Nkunku. It's a flying save by Areola to stop it from being 4 for Chelsea. Brilliant save by Areola. Well worked move by Chelsea. Caicedo's ball, Colwell's header back across the face of goal, and then Nkunku will feel he should have scored.
Terrific save. Terrific palm away, but he shouldn't be allowed. It's such a simple header for Nkunku to get down into the corner. You make sure you score that. You do not let the goalkeeper have a chance. The goalkeeper did what he had to do. Really quick footwork to his left-hand side and palmed away on the goal line. You shouldn't allow it. That should just be headed down and into the back of the net. Really good header from Colwell across, and Nkunku put that in to the corner. Don't give him a chance.
Too close to the goalkeeper from Nkunku, who should have had a second goal off the bench in successive weeks. No player actually has scored 100% of their Premier League goals off the bench. Nkunku, if he was to score today, would be the first player to score 5 Premier League goals, all of them off the bench. Unbelievable.
And he should have done. He should have done it. It was an easy chance in the end on second viewing. You've just got to make sure you can't just think of the percentage. I'm just going to make sure it's on target. No, the top players, you've got to get that down into the net.
Well, Chelsea lead by 3-0 now, and look, they've played well. Chelsea, they've played some brilliant football. They've worked hard. They've defended reasonably, actually, on a day where the attackers made all the headlines. But West Ham have been poor.
But it's felt over since that third goal. As in, the game has felt over since that goal. It hasn't felt like West Ham are ever really going to get back into the game.
And now they're just going around committing silly fouls, and Kilman's the latest who's going to go in the referee's notebook. And that's the other thing. You don't want to get yourself into a situation where you're committing fouls, giving away free kicks in dangerous areas, but also, more importantly, racking up bookings, which is just unnecessary. This is on the halfway line. It's actually a yard inside Chelsea's half on the left-hand side. Kilman's come right out of his slot, up to try and engage with João Felix, and he's given away a free kick, which, fair enough, but it was a bookable offence, and that's what's happened too. You know, they've got to somehow get themselves sorted out here, because it hasn't been a great start to the season, and there's a lot of West Ham fans that were getting a little bit they're on the edge of being disgruntled last week after the game against Fulham. They were sort of pepped up by that last-minute goal from Danny Ings, which sort of not changed everything, but gave them a sort of a warm glow when they had been feeling pretty bad for most of the match. And then they've come here today expecting something a little bit different. There's been a lot of promise around West Ham after their summer signings, and because Julian Lopetegui has been sort of saying, we've got to deliver now, and they haven't.
No, they haven't, and they were the worst team against Fulham. Fulham were better and probably deserved the points. Crystal Palace were better in the first half, and it was 2 breakaways for West Ham. Bournemouth here in the Cup were better than West Ham were here, and West Ham won that 1-0. So there's a lot of improvement to be made purely on performance levels yet, even before you talk about results.
It's not over yet, by the way. As Dean is saying, I looked at the clock there and thought it must be nearly 88 minutes, but no, we've still got 12 minutes to go. There might be further punishment. Here's a corner for Chelsea, delivered to the back post to Disasi. Madueke gets up there, eventually hacked clear by Kilman and out towards the far side. It's West Ham 0, Chelsea 3. The latest odds available from Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get 9-4 for Chelsea to win 4-0, 5-0 or 6-0. And 11-1 for Moises Caicedo to get a yellow card in the game. That's all thanks to Betfair, who are paying out on winning bets at 90 minutes with 90-minute guarantee. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, BigGambleAware.org. I mean, we obviously all watched back the Everton-Bournemouth game because it was such a Premier League classic. But even that didn't have this sort of feeling of it being over. There's no sign of any sort of West Ham emergency comeback, is there?
No, but you've got to believe that as players, and that's why you've still got to keep the intent and not allow a game to just disappear, because that resonates with the supporters. They'll remember that.
There is an air of resignation around the London Stadium, so much so that there is a lot of white plastic empty seats that have started to emerge over on the far side. 1 or 2 on this near touchline as well. West Ham do have the ball, 20 yards inside the Chelsea half. Down the left, it's with Irvin. Irvin gets it back into midfield, where it's taken by Souček, sent wide to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka out wide to Antonio, who's now down by the corner flag. Cucurella goes across to him. The Spaniard manages to block the cross, and it goes out for a throw-in over on the far side. Arsenal against Manchester City in the WSL tomorrow is live on Talksport 2. The Sunday session will come from Manchester City, where they take on Arsenal. What a huge game that is, with all the goals as they go in from elsewhere as well, as we will do today when Adrian takes you around the grounds from the King Power Stadium. It's interesting listening to Emil Heskey this week, when he said if he was Steve Cooper, he would tell his players that Everton's players are mentally weak after seeing them throw away 2 goal leads twice in successive Premier League weekends. Here is Souček down the right side to Bowen, into the path of Wan-Bissaka, whose cross is flapped away by Sanchez. And Chelsea not getting out quick enough, but there's also not enough urgency about West Ham's players either, and that's caused a bit of a groan and a moan from the West Ham supporters. They failed to pick the ball up. Cresswell, the delivery into the box, and Bowen was breaking his neck to try and get on the end of that as it swished through the 6-yard area, but he was about a foot away from it.
It was a terrific delivery from Cresswell, just little outside of the foot, out of his feet, and then looking to whip that in behind the Chelsea defence. Just a fraction too long for Bowen, who's stretching, and Souček, who's always in there when the ball's being played in from wide areas. It's been a really poor day for West Ham United. Poor day for Watford as well, who actually started brilliantly under Tom Cleverley, but it's all gone a bit Pete Tong in recent weeks. 3-1 now to Norwich. QPR 1-1 with Millwall. Sunderland still 1 up on Talksport 2 with 10 minutes to go. Exeter 2-0 up against Stevenage in League 1. Lincoln 0-0 against Wigan as well in League 2. Accrington 2-0 up against Darren Moore's Port Vale. Chesterfield 1-1 with Cheltenham going into the last 7 minutes. Manchester United women have already beaten West Ham by 3-0. And Brighton are 4-0 up against Everton in the WSL, which started this weekend. Here's Kudus into the penalty area, tries to jink in past Tosin, who's had a good day actually. Tosin Adarabioyo pinch the ball. Chelsea get forward, and actually now even Chelsea are just sort of taking their foot off the gas, Dean. It's all a bit pedestrian from them as well. They know the job's done. Well, even when they've pressed, they haven't really pressed West Ham. They've not really needed to, but They're just allowing West Ham to build up towards the wide areas and then almost coming to life defensively when West Ham get near their penalty area.
What have you learned about Enzo Maresca's team today?
That there's big signs of the way Leicester played last year, the way they controlled games, terrible tackle.
Yellow card for Antonio for wiring into Moises Caicedo. Again, that's another example of ill discipline creeping in at the end of a game, which you know is beyond you.
But there's no need for that. That's not, to me, that's not a sign that you can give the supporters that, oh, you care, is because you go around just clattering into people. It's more just the constant intensity of closing down and doing that side, not getting yourself booked by leaving a late one on a team that's beating you 3-0.
Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall is coming on for Chelsea. He's replacing Enzo Fernandez, who just in order to waste a little bit of time has gone round, hugged every member of the Chelsea team and even shook the hands of the referee as well. He wanders over to this near touchline and is replaced by Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who played successfully under Enzo Maresca last season at Leicester City. He recovered from illness last week. He didn't make the game against Bournemouth, but certainly thrived at Leicester in the Championship. 12 goals, chipped in with 14 assists from midfield, and he's actually had quite a positive start to life at Chelsea as well as Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall.
I think the slight issue for him is I think he will play at times in that role that Cole Palmer plays and Felix can play, but also a slightly deeper role. I like him further forwards. I thought he was brilliantly creative for Leicester last season.
Well, with all due respect to him, he's going to be a sub, isn't he? At best.
Yeah.
Because he's got to get past a £220 million midfield of Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. And then he's got João Felix and Palmer ahead of him in a further forward position. So it's going to be difficult, but he's just got to make the most of the minutes that he gets.
Don't tell him, though.
He's not stupid. I think he's worked it out. 5 minutes to go before the end of the game. You're listening to Talksport. Cresswell infield to Soler, who swishes the ball out towards the far side, looking for Wan-Bissaka. Finds Antonio, holds it up well. Tries to turn under pressure from Cucurella. It goes back to Wan-Bissaka. Souček into the box. It's behind Bowen. It'll be picked up by Disasi, and then Chelsea can bring it clear. Clipped away by Disasi, who actually played in the World Cup final for France. He came off the bench during that game that they lost to Enzo Fernandez's Argentina. And he's in the team at the right back after coming off the bench today. Forward by Caicedo, won by Mavropanos high up, and then Tosin Odorabayo steps in before West Ham can make anything of that. A tussle between Wan-Bissaka and Neto ensues on the far side of the ball spilt away, and then Wan-Bissaka tries to twist his way into an advanced position.
They've looked good, haven't they? Adebayo and Colwill together. There's not a lot that they've given up, to be honest, to this West Ham attack. Could be a partnership that could build for Chelsea and Maresca.
West Ham 0, Chelsea 3. On Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. Bowen taking the ball on and trying to go past Cucurella. Sets it back for Soler. Blocked by Caicedo. Good defending by him. And it's cleared away by Chelsea. Good ball infield as well by Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. Then Caicedo is fouled. It's going to be another free kick for Chelsea just short of the centre circle. Now, I think they've been a bit ragged today, West Ham, especially after conceding so early. They needed to react immediately. When Chelsea then scored their second goal, you thought, OK, they've scored, but there's still a long way to go. Where are West Ham here? What are they going to do next? And we've just never really seen that sort of response materialise with any real hope or gusto.
No, it'd be interesting to see what Lopetegui says after the game, whether he goes really, really strong just on that penalty incident, which could have changed the course of the game, or whether he does talk about they still need him a lot of work for his side.
Well, I think he probably will bemoan the fact that they didn't get the penalty, which I think both of us think probably could have been. But ultimately, that was a long time ago now. and you've got to readjust.
Yeah, and Chelsea could have had 6 or 7. They could. The attacks they've had that should have ended in a goal, I've lost count almost. It's been just so passive. I think that's the scary perspective for West Ham is allowing a team that's got quality to just have the ball with no pressure. That has to change very, very quickly.
Well, there won't be much queue for the tube on the way out of here today at Stratford Station, because most people left a little while ago. It's not even half full now, the London Stadium, with Chelsea leading by 3-0. Chelsea's next few fixtures would make quite interesting reading. Not only have they got Barrow in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday night, they've got Brighton at home, then the Champions League, they wish, the Europa Conference League against Ghent. I've been mercilessly ribbed by that, by the way, by Gabby Agbonlahor, telling me to enjoy Ghent. Don't worry, we will. Forest at home, Liverpool away, Panathinaikos away in Athens as well. So a busy couple of weeks for Chelsea in the 3 competitions that they are in currently. And they've got another 2 to play, the FA Cup and a season which will go long into June and July when they play the Club World Cup in America. Challenge on João Felix, free kick given. Quickly Caicedo tries to get it forward, but underneath it was Max Kilman. Here is Antonio, now popping up on the left for West Ham United with just 90 seconds to play. He gets challenged by João Felix. It's going to be a Chelsea throw on this near side. In fact, I suppose the good news for Chelsea is that 7 of their next 9 games are at Stamford Bridge, despite the fact it's quite a dizzying period. Those games that I mentioned, the first 5 of those are across a 16-day period in 3 different competitions.
Well, it means everyone's going to get some decent game time. He's going to be able to keep the players happy, that's for sure, over the coming weeks.
I think the biggest disappointment for West Ham fans will be, look at this, you haven't made Chelsea work too hard for this victory.
Not remotely. Not remotely.
I wonder if the phone lines will be buzzing for Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy at 5:30 from West Ham supporters. 03717 22 3344. You can WhatsApp voice note them as well. They'd love to hear from you. 2 goals from Nicholas Jackson inside the first 21 minutes. Got Chelsea on their way. Cole Palmer added a 3rd just after half-time, provided by Jackson. It's been Jackson's day. Couple of seconds to go before the end of the 90. Chelsea leading by 3-0. There's 4 added minutes to play.
It's awful as a player. It's from a West Ham perspective when you're out there and you know the game's gone and you can see the fans are leaving. It's just awful. You please blow the whistle, put us out of our misery. It's a horrible place to be after what should have been a great start and a beautiful morning that we came into.
João Felix just took on 3 West Ham players, went through the legs of the last one, escaped the other side, but he was pulled back just before that. Instead of allowing him to play on, the referee, Sam Barrett, actually ended up giving a free kick, and he was so annoyed about it, João Felix. He was moaning at the referee. But Sam Barrett had already made the decision. He's an interesting character, Sam Barrett, one of the new faces on the Premier League scene, the referee. Promoted to the select group this summer. This is 4th game of the season in charge today. People might pick over that decision about the penalty. But he may never have actually picked up a whistle had it not been for a nasty injury in his teens when he was coming through the ranks as a promising youth player at Halifax Town. His grandfather persuaded him to take up a refereeing course during his 9 months of rehab. And the rest is history, as they say. Ball cleared away by Chelsea from the edge of their own penalty area. It might run kindly for João Felix here. Nkunku decided to go a little bit too early, and that then meant that West Ham could get back. The ball's been spread to the far side, the left. Pedro Neto decided about not breaking his gut and getting to the edge of the penalty area, just held on to it instead, and Chelsea will go back into their own half.
Neto just didn't bother then, did he? Could have broken down the left. Just thought, the game's gone. We'll just keep the ball and just see the game out. We've dished out enough punishment to West Ham.
Carlos Soler, who I think is trying to go for the record for the least number of Premier League minutes per booking because I think he was booked in the game last week, and he's now been booked for taking out the considerable thigh muscle of Mark Cucurella.
But that is 3 or 4 bookings. You talked about that from West Ham play, simply out of frustration. And
it's a lack of discipline, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'll be something the manager will have really noticed. Rather than can we get back into the game and show some pride in the way that we play, the players have decided instead we're just going to commit fouls and get yellow cards. I don't think that's a particularly good thing.
They checked that for a possible red card, by the way. In the end, the play on. Here, Chelsea on the verge of winning 5 away games in a row for the first time in the Premier League since the Thomas Tuchel days. Ball sent out towards the far side, cleared away by Wan-Bissaka. Inside the West Ham half the ball is, but there doesn't seem to be much urgency to get forward for West Ham. It's going to be a feather in the cap of Enzo Maresca. Wan-Bissaka trying to get into the penalty area, cuts it back to Antonio, then gets the return, breaks for Kudus on the edge of the box. It's blocked, and now Chelsea have got 3 on... Oh dear, they've got 5 on 3 here. They're breaking at speed. West Ham are overcommitted. Chelsea coming forward. They've got to make the most of this. Neto goes down the outside, pulls it back into the box. Neto again, he's still got options. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall into João Felix, edge of the area, right-footed shot, narrowly wide of the right-hand upright. Well, Chelsea, again, guilty of overplaying when they had an opportunity to put their foot on the throttle and kill West Ham off once and for all as they broke. It was 5 on 3 at one stage, and in the end it was a shot from the edge of the box, which was probably a very low XG from that sort of range that went whistling past the post.
That would have been criminal if they didn't get some sort of effort on target, but West Ham were just completely swamped by guava ice at the end.
Well, talk about getting off on the wrong foot. For the first time in their history, West Ham United have lost their first 3 home league games of a season. It's early days, but Julian Lopetegui was brought in to make a difference. I'm not sure this is what the West Ham board had in mind. It's 3 tough games, but it is 3 defeats, and there's no escaping that. And there's no escaping that for all the chaos that has engulfed Chelsea, they are the Premier League's joint top scorers at this moment in time, and their away form shows no sign of slowing. It's 3 away wins out of 3 for Chelsea this season alone. It's 2 goals and an assist for Nicholas Jackson. Enzo Maresca becomes the first new manager since Pep Guardiola to win his first 3 away games in charge. It is finished at the London Stadium. West Ham United 0, Chelsea 3.
Thank you very much, Sam Matterface and Dean Ashton. It's actually a victory that, for now, at least, it takes Chelsea up to 2nd in the table. That's obviously going to change throughout the course of the weekend, but it's a good day's work for the away side here in this feisty London derby. But really, the team who are a home side absolutely lacked teeth in this one. It was a woeful performance from this West Ham side. That is demonstrated by the number of empty seats there were before full time, and the fans are pouring out here. They are not staying, many of them are not staying to applaud their team in any way, shape or form, although the players right now are moving out of the centre circle and are heading out to clap the few fans, and they really are a handful of fans that are stuck around for the end of this. Terrible for the fans, Dean Ashton. This is a club that you played for as well. When you think of the pride that this club has, where are they at this precise moment now?
They're under pressure already, is what it is because they made their feelings clear about the style under David Moyes, very, very clear, and they wanted a change. They got that, but I don't think it's the change they wanted. And I thought it was strange, the appointment when it was made, because of knowing how Lopetegui likes to play and his defence first. And ultimately, there doesn't feel like a change. If anything, it's that felt worse than previous games that I've seen under David Moyes. And the supporters will be flat. They'll be really, really flat after this game, and it is down to the manager and the players to get back on the training pitch, to work on certainly that defensive structure that was
non-existent,
very
wasn't it,
exposed by Chelsea's pace. That needs to be ironed out very, very quickly, or else
the pressure will just mount and mount, and this won't be a nice place to play for the players.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a case of be careful what you wish for, because David Moyes had taken them to so much success. I mean, he won them a European trophy, and yet it wasn't enough for the West Ham supporters. Is there a case, do you think some of the fans will be thinking, we shouldn't have clamoured so hard for him to go, because this actually feels worse?
No, because I think that they wanted it. They felt like they'd come to the end with David Moyes, and it's more a case of they might have got it wrong in terms of the recruitment of the manager. That they'll see certain people. They'll see like a Maresca. They'll see a manager that's come into Chelsea, and you can already see a real change and an upturn in performances and style, and the players looking relaxed under him and being able to show their best. And there's lots of young managers, young coaches that are being given opportunities, and I think a lot of the West Ham fans will feel like, why did we not, how have we not been able to go for somebody that is really exciting, that wants to completely flip the way that this team wants to play? Because I do think they've got the players to play in a very different way, and they've not seen any of that yet.
They absolutely haven't seen any of that yet, and you just wonder whether sorry, Sam Matterface is just sort of fiddling around with all this technology. By the way, can I just say, this is a man who owns every single new technology that comes out on the market, and he just pulled out some cable where Dean Aston
pulled out my headphones.
He has, hasn't he? Couldn't hear what I was saying. I thought something had gone amiss there. Look, so they've got a blueprint of what they possibly could be when they look at, the changes that Enzo Maresca has made. This is all on Lopetegui, though, isn't it? This defeat, in terms of the way he set up, in terms of the way he said, look, we've got before pre-match. He said, we're going to look at the way we can play. We're not really looking at Chelsea. We're looking at us. But what did he look at on this team that didn't really account for what Chelsea were about to put on the table?
Well, the way he set up, and he had Alvarez in between the two centre backs, and he had Paquetá and Bowen as kind of 2 10s when they didn't have the ball. That's the manager. That's the manager's idea. The players don't just wander into positions for the sake of it. That was a very clear idea of what he wanted from the team, and it really didn't work. In fact, it really exposed the lack of pace at the back and the lack of communication.
But is that a Lopetegui problem?
Yes,
that he's just set up wrong, or is it the players don't understand? It doesn't translate to them. Like, which one is it?
No, he's trying to change things and put players into positions that he feels is right to get a hold on the game, and they've not done it enough. They're not ready for it, and you're being exposed against a really good team. Chelsea were terrific right from the start today.
They were. I remember covering a Real Madrid match. It was a Super Cup, a UEFA Super Cup match. The prelude to the European season. It was when Julian Lopetegui was in charge, and I was pitch side, and I could see the entire time he was just screaming instructions, shouting for the players to do this, that, and the other. I explicitly remember players like Sergio Ramos just would look around, see him shouting, and then just carry on doing whatever he was doing. The players didn't really pay that much attention, and you wonder, so at what point does he manage to sort of earn their respect back after this? How hard is it for a manager to earn the respect?
Really hard, because they're waiting and they're judging you. We do as players. Even though we're not a coach and we're just a player, we have our own opinions on tactics and how the players should set up. And if they're not buying into it, and when we talk about buying it, it's hearing what the manager's saying, agreeing with it, seeing the results from that, and then being relaxed with it. And that you have got to give some more time, of course you have, to a manager. 3 very difficult home games to start, but there's no doubt he'll feel under pressure, because he'll have looked round and seen that half the stadium was gone.
Yeah. And Karen Brady and the like didn't look very impressed at all. OK, we're going to pick our man of the match now, which gives us a chance to talk about Chelsea with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Man of the match on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day.
5 games into the season, 10 points for Chelsea then, and a good start for them. Who is then your man of the match from this game?
Nicholas Jackson for me. I just thought right from the off he sensed how he was going to get the better of the West Ham defence, and he just kept doing it. Sometimes it's the simplest thing just to know you've got the beating of a defender in a certain way, and he did. He just kept spinning and running in behind, and the one criticism of him maybe has been a bit of composure at times in his Chelsea career, but he showed loads of it today. The two finishes I thought were really calm, measured in the way that he finished them both. The first one through the keeper's legs, the second one outside of the right foot, and ultimately he was too much in that first half for the West Ham defence and put Chelsea in a great position.
Yeah, certainly did. 2 goals and an assist as well for Cole Palmer as well in that 3-0 victory. That was our man of the match from today's game with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.